building has always been one of the most important parts of my Minecraft career, and I've always wondered how I got to where I am today. I mean, I went from following guidebooks to literally building an entire solar system in Minecraft. So, how in the world did I get here? Well, if you played Minecraft as a kid, you've probably heard of the Construction Handbook. It's essentially an official guide to building in Minecraft made by the creators of the game, and I wanted to see if the builds in it held up to today's standards. Spoiler alert, they kind of didn't. And I'm going to be starting with the first build in the book, which is the wooden house. So after finding a good spot to build the house, I decided to see what the first steps were. Okay, it looks like we gotta make an outline of cobblestone. And with that, the basic outline of our house is complete. Oh. One quick fix later and we're back in business. Well, I'm not really sure how tall to make it, so we'd recommend at least 1 or 2 blocks of space above your head so it doesn't feel too cramped. Okay, let me stand here for a cool transition in 3, 2, 1, and there we go. Next, fill in the ground with wooded planks, and there we go. Now, according to the guide, it's actually easier to fill in the walls instead of just making the windows on their own. So I guess... And there we go. This build is looking pretty bad right now, but that's about to change because we're gonna put in some windows. Okay, it looks like they want us to build our windows like this. There's all the windows completed, now for some doors. Okay, now we just have to add doors and torches. It looks like mobs are already spawning in here. Okay, the inside and outside are already all lit. That's a thing? Alright, that's the basic shape of the roof completed. Now let's add it on all the sides. Oh, but wait, Mojang actually wants us to add a layer of depth to the build. Good job on telling me that, Mojang. Here's a sticker. Alright, it's time to build the rest of the roof. Here we go. After I finished this side, I noticed that there was a little bit of a mistake. Okay, nice. Now the roof and both of the sides are completed. What's next? Okay, the guide says to add some balconies. It also says to add a chimney. Apparently, you can also use cobwebs to make it look like smoke is coming out of the chimney. Next, it says to add some windows on the roof. And with this, the perfect Minecraft house is completed. Now it's time to start working on the decorative garden, which will go in the back of the house. To start, we have to make an outline of wood. Dig out an area for the swimming pool, add leaves on top of the wood, make the pool deeper, add walls, add water, add a stage, make a garden, add some trees, and with that, the house is completed. Let's have a quick tour. This is just one of the 9 builds that I'm going to be recreating from the handbook. Anyway, let's get back to building. The next build that we're going to be making is the fortified wall, which shouldn't take too long. Start off with an outline, build the walls up, fortify the wall. Now it's time to do something illegal. Make a circle. Okay, I'm going to build a circle right here. Okay, that part is completed, and they want me to build it at least twice as tall as the wall. Okay, well, this part is finally completed. I hope I don't have to add any details to it. Well, shit. This is what you're getting. Take it or leave it. Then you set everything on fire by making a torch at the top. And with that, this build is completed. Now we're starting to get into the harder builds because for this next one, we have to make a 19 by 30 by 10 block outline. Okay, the outline is completed. Something weird that I noticed about this build is that you actually have to build the frames of the windows before the walls. Meanwhile, in this build, you have to actually build the walls first and then destroy everything for the windows. Oh, and did you also know that carpets are fireproof? Don't care? Well, f*** you, because I'm telling you about it anyway. Add a royal carpet down the center of your hull that stops just before the area where your throne will sit. Yes, that's right, you're going to have a throne. That is a legitimate sentence in the book, I'm not even joking right now. Okay, we're actually making pretty good progress on this build. What's next? Looks like we have to add some pillars in. Alright, there's the roof. Okay, nice, we finished the roof. Alright, so let's add some fence blocks in the middle, and some glowstone, and that's it. Now that this build is complete, I thought I'd share a couple of things that I really liked about it. Okay, the next thing in the book is a suspension bridge. There is no way I'm making it this big. Oh god, this is gonna be a mistake. Now we have to build an arch underneath the bridge? Okay, I guess that's the first one done. And that is that side done. And the other side, now we're adding some detail to it. That honestly looks pretty good. Alright, that's 1. And 2. Okay, making arches is hard, but I think I finally made a decent one. Just gotta repeat it a couple of times, and finally, it's finished. I actually think that this is a pretty neat build, so without further ado, let's get on to the next one. The next build is a stained glass poppy. I think that this mountain is a fine spot to build it. Now instead of starting out with glass, we actually have to make an outline out of cobblestone and black wool. Well, there's your outline for you, Mojang. Now time to destroy all my hard work and turn it into glass. And we are done. This build isn't really too much, so let's move on to the next one. I'm just gonna gloss over this next one because it's pretty much the same thing as this one, just a little bit harder. Make an outline, fill it in with wool, and replace the wool with glass. Now it's time to make the ocean temple. This one is rated 1 out of 3, so it should be pretty easy. That's all the items we're gonna need for it, so let's get building. This build starts off pretty easy with a simple 11 by 11 square. Then you add some walls to it. Okay, we got the walls done, but it still looks like garbage. Then you gotta make it a little bit taller. Oh no, we reached the build limit. Whatever will I do? Now that's what I like to see. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh shit, I have to add detail to it. Now I might be getting a little bit ambitious here, but I want to go higher. Quick progress update, we're at Y level 1983 right now, and I think I'm gonna stop here. And there we go. The second to last build is a floating island, and honestly, I think it would be pretty cool if we built it up here with this building. Alright, that's step number 1 complete. Step number 2 is to add blocks below the top of the island, working in towards the center. Alright, that's step number 2 complete. I don't want to do this step. You do not want to know how long this took me. Step number 4 is to add grass blocks, trees, and flowers. Now that we have the grass layer done, it's time to build a castle. First we have to mark a basic outline. Wow, that almost went off the edge. It says to make the walls 5 blocks tall, and the tower is 8 blocks tall. Now that that's complete, we're on to step number 3, which isn't really that hard because we just kind of have to fill this stuff in, and also add wood around the entrance. And finally, we have to build a roof on top of each tower. And with that, this build is completed. Now for the hardest build in the book. The galleon ship. Alright, let's jump down. Okay, so I think I'm gonna build it right here. It's now a good time to say that I have literally no idea how to build a boat. Okay, well that took me far longer than it should have. Now, for some reason the next step is to fill in the entire ship. Now apparently we're supposed to use birch planks because it contrasts well with the ship. But does it really? Honestly, yeah, it looks fine. And with some slabs added, it kind of makes it look better. Now it's time to fill in the deck. Okay, so that part took a little bit longer than it should have, but now it's time to build the sails. Now we have to actually outline the sails with white wool. If you made it this far into the video, then consider subscribing. This video took me a really long time to make, and it would mean the absolute world to me. Anyway, back to the video. Oh my god, building sails should not be this hard. I mean, the front one and back ones were easy to build, but the middle ones I had to destroy like 3 times just to get them to look good. And the final detail is just to add a couple of red flags at the top. And finally, the last build in the book. Having a difficulty rating of 3 out of 3, taking up 6 pages of the book, and having some of the most diverse materials in the entire game. It's a roller coaster. Anyway, at this point, I think we all know how it goes. Create an outline, then position the rails on top of the wood planks, and then you have to add a tunnel? Now we have to add supports to it, because if we didn't, well... Add stair blocks to the side of the track where it runs uphill to give it an authentic look. Alright, 2 more steps and we're done with the book. Okay, we gotta make this thing, and also for some reason Moying's dispenser is facing the wrong direction. And finally, we have to add some lights. I think it's clear that most of the builds in this handbook were pretty old, so they obviously don't look as good as they would today. So, what would they look like if they were built today? So the first build that we're going to be upgrading is the wooden house. And it's pretty clear that some of the building techniques used in this house are pretty old. I mean, this is supposed to be a stage. So I think that the first and easiest step to upgrading this house is to replace the windows with glass panes. Another easy trick you can use is to add stair blocks to the front of the roof to add a little more depth to the build. Okay, the house is starting to look better, but it could still use some improvements, so I'm just gonna finish it up in this time lapse. That's the house part of the build complete, but if you want to have a good house, then you also have to have a good backyard. And what I have right now isn't exactly the best, which is why I removed the original garden and replaced it with a much better one. Okay, well that took longer than it should have, but look at it now, it's beautiful. The next build that we're going to be upgrading is the fortified wall. Okay, so I think that the tower itself actually looks okay, but it's the wall that needs the upgrading. To start, I removed the fire and replaced it with campfires. I think if I put walls here, it'll probably improve it. But yeah, now if I repeat this down there, it should make it look a lot better. I'm gonna try using this block palette as a replacement for the cobblestone and see if it makes it look any better. Okay, let's see how this looks in 3, 2, 1. You know, on second thought, I think I'm gonna remove the stone stairs. Alright, yeah, that fixed it. But I think that with this part, I'm gonna replace the entire outer layer and then completely change it. I was thinking that arches might look good on this, but I'm not quite sure. Okay, that might actually look pretty good if I add some detail to it. Okay, it's getting better, but I don't think it's still quite good enough. Alright, yeah, I think that's as good as it's gonna get, so let me just paste this design on all 4 sides. Alright, that's 1 side, 2, 3, and 4. Now all that's left to do is just to copy and paste this build all around where my city is gonna be. So basically what I did was build an absolutely massive wall completely surrounding me. I think that it should be big enough to fit all the builds inside, but I guess we're just gonna have to find out. I think that this next build in the handbook is probably the worst one. That's right, it's the throne room. Okay, so I think I'm gonna start by removing the roof and walls. There we go. I also removed the pillars because they kinda sucked. And now it's time to actually start building. As you can see here, I experimented a lot with the roof designs until I finally found one that worked. It's not the greatest build ever, at least from the outside, but on the inside, I would say that it's definitely an improvement. Alright, the next thing that we're going to be upgrading is the bridge. Okay, but first I need to make a river for it to go over. And finally, I pasted the bridge in and completely upgraded it. Now that the bridge is done, it's finally time to upgrade the pixel arts. Okay, maybe I want to take it back that this was the worst build. The only thing that I'm thinking is that I could switch the flower type to like a rose or something. I mean, I can't really think of anything else, so I guess I'll have to do. I also found this cool trick where I added layers of glass to add some extra details that wouldn't normally be there. And now I have to upgrade this. It's literally just a bunch of blocks of glass. I have no idea how I can upgrade it. Okay, I actually thought of an idea for this one, but it's gonna involve some weird tricks. So if I copy and paste this behind it, what does this look like? Whoa, okay, that's kind of cool. Okay, what if I do it further? That's a pretty neat effect. Okay, I want to make it so that you can't actually see through it. I guess the only other thing that I could think to do to it is to add a cooler design around the outside. And that's those 2 builds completed. Let's see what's next. Well, shit. Okay, so to make the actual lake that it's gonna be in, I'm just gonna be replacing all the dirt and grass with water. Now I have a little spot to build on, but first let me smooth that out a little bit. And there we go. Now it's time to actually start the building itself. Okay, so I think that I'm gonna start by making a staircase that actually leads up to the build. That wasn't the hardest thing to do, but now we have to actually build the structure itself. I think 19 by 19 blocks should be a reasonable size for it. That's kind of a cool design for a support pillar. And that's all 4 sides completed. I think if I paste this design a couple of times up, then it should look pretty good. Yeah, that seems like an okay height. Okay, I'm gonna see what I can do with the walls here. I'm actually pretty happy with this design right here, so I'm just gonna paste it all the way around the build. I also pasted the staircase on this side and added some lily pads as well. Now that those 2 sides are done, I think I'm gonna come up with a design for these 2 sides. I think if I do kind of an oval shape and then replace the walls with what I have here, then that should make it look pretty good. Okay, I found a design that's simple and fits the build. Now all I have to do is paste it to the other side, and that's the bottom layer complete. Now that I look at it from a distance, I think that each layer needs to be a couple of blocks taller. And there goes the top. Now I need to come up with a design for these walls. I'm gonna start by creating a simple outline for a floor. Okay, that should be big enough to put the walls in. That's an okay entrance design, so now I think it's time to work on the windows. I put a little bit of glass there above the windows. I think I'm still gonna use the same design as they did in the book with the blue glass in front and the sea lanterns in the back. Okay, it's starting to improve, but it still does need a lot of work. I did edit a couple of things and it's starting to look a whole lot better now. Now that it's pasted on this side, it's time to start working on these 2 sides. I think I'll start by making the windows and also like a rail kind of thing for like a balcony. I don't really know. I actually completely forgot that warped trap doors exist, so now this build looks a whole lot better. And I think that's gonna be the final design. Now I have to do the roofs. Well, would you look at that? It looks like the interior needs some decorating. Let's see. I think I'm gonna start with a simple cross in the middle of the room and also fill in the floor. Now we need to fix the walls. Then we need to make some doorways. Now all that's left to do is to decorate the interior. Okay, I added a basic staircase here, and I'll add some pillars to the corner of the room, along with some other extra details, and I think that should be it. The interior is done, but now I have to work on the roof. I don't want to do this. And while this time lapse is playing, I'd just like to ask you all to subscribe. This video took me a really long time to make, and it would mean the absolute world to me. Oh my god, I did not know that building roofs like this took so long. But now we're done with that, so I'm gonna move to something a little bit more important. The landscape. Since this build is probably the worst, I think I'm gonna make the front half sticking out and then the back half in like a mountain or something. I don't really know, it'll look better when I build it. And I guess while I'm at it, I'm gonna finish landscaping the rest of this area. Okay, so far we're making great progress, but up next is the floating island. I'm gonna start this build not in the sky, but on the ground. You see, by using World Edit and making spheres out of sand, I can make the shape of an island and then paste it into the sky. Okay, I think that's the shape of the island completed. I just now realized how big this thing is. Now I'm gonna turn it all into dirt. And copy this whole area. Now it's flipped upside down, so let me just paste it in. Okay, something went wrong here. I would say that looks pretty good, but I think before I do that, I'm gonna make the top a little bit less flat. Okay, it's improving now, but I still definitely do need to add some leaves. Now that I have some leaves added, I think I'm gonna add a couple of smaller islands floating around it. All right, we got another one right here and a really small one over there. All right, so that's all the smaller floating islands completed, so now we have to move on to the center island where we have to build a castle. So to start the castle, we're gonna make an outline. If you don't make an outline, you're bad. All right, there's our outline. Now let me build the walls up a little bit. Now that we have our walls built up, we can finally start decorating. Okay, I kind of like this design right here. I think that fixed the villager problem, so now I'm gonna make a bridge going from here to here. After I finished the bridge, I decided to finish the rest of the castle in one big time lapse. Now is a good time to mention that all of these builds will be linked in my Discord server, so if you want to explore them for yourself, then join down below. Okay, so the second to last build is a boat. Now that we have our boat pasted in, I think I have some ideas on how to make it look better. To add some texture to it, you can actually replace some of the birch planks with some stripped birch wood. Another easy thing that I did was to replace the oak logs with oak wood. I think adding birch stairs and birch slabs to the hull of the ship might actually improve it a lot. Going to the interior of the ship, I'm noticing that it's really quite bland. So I think I'm gonna try doing the same thing I did with the outside and replace the oak planks in here with oak wood. And I also might actually try adding a design to these flags. Oh, I actually just kinda had a cool idea. What if I turned this whole thing into like a ghost pirate ship? I'm gonna start by replacing all the white wool with black wool, and it kinda looks a little bit weird right now. Honestly, I'm actually quite liking it pretty good so far, but as you can tell, the bottom part of it doesn't quite contrast very good with the top part. While I was working on the deck area, I realized that there wasn't actually much detail on it. Along with adding some stairs around the edges, I also added some cannons, and I think that that's the boat completed. As you can tell, I added a couple of extra details on the actual deck of the ship, like some buttons and some water-logged stairs. And now, for the very final build in the book. Yeah, that's right, it's the roller coaster. Okay, let's see what I can do with this. And after 72 hours of work, I had finished. But this was only the beginning, because little did I know that my next challenge would take over 200 hours. Wait, it actually took 66 hours, which is still crazy. It's Minecraft. And that's because I'll be moving from creative into survival mode. You see, while working on this video, I discovered that Minecraft had end rings, which were essentially large stretches of void that have been found extremely far out in the end biome. And of course, since everything I did in the past was in creative mode, I had to make a brand new hardcore world. And this is how it went. Okay, we're in. Start by getting some wood, and get a crafting table, and a pickaxe. Now you see, the problem with finding the end gap is that it's located 370,000 blocks away from spawn, which is why I set up a few goals for me to complete if I want to find it. And the first one is to get some gear. Okay, now I have some stone tools, so I think I'm gonna look for a village. Okay, so there's a pillager outpost right there, which means that there's a village within 300 blocks. Oh shoot, it's right there. And also, this is hardcore, meaning if I die, I fail and have to restart the challenge. Okay, it's day number 2, and I think I'm gonna go get some iron. Alright, we made it to the surface, so now I'm gonna smelt all this iron. And on day number 4 of my world, I began to search for a lava pool to help me get to the nether. Oh dude, let's go, there's diamonds right here. Alright, now we can mine the diamonds. Oh, bruh, there's even more right here. Oh, it's a lot too. Sweat? Dude, why is there so many? Oh yeah, and just in case you don't believe me, here's the seed and coordinates. So now we have 14 diamonds, so I might make a diamond pickaxe and maybe a little bit of armor. I was also thinking that lapis could be useful if I ever wanted to get enchantments in the future. There is also some more diamonds right here, which brings our total up to 17. Now, while I still hadn't found a lava pool to get to the nether yet, I did find this. Oh, let's go to the spawner. Bro, there's even more diamonds, what? As my search for a lava pool continued, my luck just seemed to be getting worse and worse. Dude, it's another dead end. Oh my god, I think I finally found it. Dude, please, please tell me. Yes! Oh, finally. This took so long. Okay, I hope this works correctly. Alright, it's time to go to the nether. I spawned on fortress. Bro, what? Before I went inside the fortress, I decided to trade with some piglins for pearls. Okay, I only got 4 pearls, but I did get a fire resistance potion, which could be useful for fighting blazes. Oh, let's go, there's a spawner right there. Okay, I'm gonna use the fire resistance potion now. Okay, so I did end up getting really lucky with my blaze rods, and I got 9 from 12. After I left the fortress, I began killing endermen for some pearls to get to the end. Yo, what? I got another pearl. Alright, that's 12. I'm gonna get a couple more just in case. Oh, okay, finally, a bastion. And also we got 17 ender pearls, which should be good enough to get to the stronghold. All I need is just a little bit of obsidian so that I can make a nether portal, so... Oh, there we go. I'm gonna just do a portal right here and see where it takes me. Okay, this is... Yeah, I was bridging up and I found some diamonds, okay. Alright, now that we're at the surface, it's time to find the stronghold. Traveling for like 2 seconds and it's already going back. What? Yo, it's right there. Let's go. Oh my god. Alright. Time to go to the end. Bro, this is such a strange stronghold. It's like getting destroyed by a cave. What? Okay, finally. Oh, let's go. Okay, I think I'm finally ready. Let's do this. Then actually start flying out there. Let's go. After getting the dragon egg, I began to head to the outer end islands in search of an elytra. Dude, if I fall off just because of this end generation, I'm actually gonna be kind of mad. Alright. What? Oh, okay, I'm gonna turn my render distance all the way up and see if I can actually see anything. Oh, I just looked at an Enderman. Hang on. Oh, this isn't good. Yes! Oh my god, that's been so long. Finally, dude. Let's go. Oh my god, is that a second one? Wait, there's a second one over there. Oh, what is this? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. That's... golden apple. Pickaxe, finally. Oh, and that's a good sword, too. Shovel. Take that. Finally. Yo, let's go. We can fly now. Right, I think that's everything I'm gonna need from here, so I'm gonna head back home now. How did I get the advancement? What? That's weird. Okay. Anyway, now that we're back in the overworld, I'm gonna head over to a village so that I can create a gunpowder farm. And that's because I'm gonna be traveling 150,000 blocks to get to the end gap. Now I'm gonna trade with some villagers to get some mending and unbreaking books for my elytra. Oh, we got mending. Okay, and I did also notice that I already have an unbreaking 3 book from the stronghold. Okay, now that I have my elytra enchanted, I think I'm gonna make a creeper farm in the ocean over there, so I'm gonna start getting the materials for that. Okay, start by getting 1,530 building blocks. Oh, this is gonna take a while. What is this? Dude, my villager is dead. There is no way. Quick progress update. I am currently preparing to gather 1,196 slabs for the top of the creeper farm. I'm actually getting pretty close to having all the materials needed for the creeper farm, but I still need hoppers, dispensers, observers, buckets, some campfires, redstone, a lever, and a comparator. Alright, I got all the chest boats here, which means that it's time to start building. Okay, so I've had this thing running for around 16 hours, so I kinda hope that it worked. Also, I did expand the storage system, so let's see. Okay, so now that I have rockets, I'm gonna go over to the end dimension and get some more elytras and maybe some diamond armor. Alright, found our first end city, and it does have a ship. Okay, this has to be the worst possible iron chest plate. Dude, I can see 2 more from here. That's actually really useful. And that's elytra number 2. Oh, what? There's another one. Elytra number 3. Got elytra number 4. And there's another end city, which gets us elytra number 6. It's just about to say I'm not seeing any more end cities, but I think this is one of the cooler end cities that I found because its ship is right in the middle of the city. Oh, I finally got a silk touch pickaxe. Now I can get an ender chest. Okay, I think it's finally time to head back home, and I did see a gateway somewhere over here. Okay, we're finally back home now. Anyway, now that we're back home, I think it's time for me to make a sugarcane farm, which isn't really that hard because all I have to do is just... Okay, it doesn't exactly look the best, but it works. Okay, so it's been around 21 hours, and I'm really hoping that this farm worked because it's been 21 hours. And I know that it works, I just hope that it's given me enough, so let's find out. I think that's enough. And there's also another one over here. I think that's probably enough. I'm actually getting closer and closer to finding the end gap, but we still need to do some other things first. Like, for example, getting some more food. Oh, why is it so expensive? Okay, I got it again for 21 emeralds, which is a little bit more reasonable. Okay, so I've created the house in a creative world, and this is the list of materials that I'm gonna need. So I'm gonna start by getting the stone, which I'm gonna make a stone farm for. And it's obviously not really that complicated because... Okay, yeah, it's already done. I only have to AFK in here for like 2 minutes because I only need like 19 stacks of cobblestone, and this thing makes like 260 per minute. Okay, now for the grass. Okay, after a lot of work, I finally have everything, and I think I'm finally ready to go out there. But one other thing that I still do need to get is a block of honey for the flying machine. I think all I need is 4, so there's a beehive over here I know. Okay, I got 3 left, and I do think that they spawn more in birch forests, but I'm not quite sure. If I silk touch this, are they gonna be mad at me? Nope, we're good. Oh! Oh! Okay, we finally got a second one, but we still do need 2 more. Yo, let's go, there's more honey. Let's get it. Are we? Oh, yes, finally got the last one, let's go! Trying to think of what else I can gather before I go, because I really do not want to like miss anything and then figure out when I'm already 50,000 blocks out. After all this time and all this preparation, I think I'm finally ready to go. Let's do this. I've got everything in my ender chest, so now it's finally time to fly there. While this time-lapse is playing, I just want to tell you to subscribe, because Social Blade predicts that I'm going to hit 100,000 subscribers by the start of 2025, so subscribe to prove them wrong. And 50k, let's go. Hey, there we go, let's go. Hey, come on. And 200,000, let's go. Oh, we're more than halfway there now. A couple more, and 300,000, let's go. And finally, after many hours of traveling, this is just crazy that I've traveled 370,000 blocks just to get to this. And so I began to construct the flying machine, which would take me the 76,000 blocks away from land, where I'd finally be at peace. Okay, so all I have to do is place a piston right here, and it should start flying, so... Okay. Oh, it's going. Come on. Okay. I'm in. After a very close call, I eventually began to make some really good progress. Okay, I have to stop it at 447,499. Okay, come on. I have to time it right. This is it. This is the furthest possible distance you can be from any blocks in all of Minecraft. Well, now that we're finally out here, it's time to do what I came here to do, which is make the house. 47,000 blocks is the distance I had to travel in order to create a simple Minecraft house. A Minecraft house that no one will ever be able to reach or even ever see. Making this house was obviously not the easiest thing to do, but little did I know that my next project would take me over 3 times as long. And I'm sure at some point in your life you've seen this painting. It's called The Great Wave and it's pretty famous. So I had the idea to build it in Minecraft, and not just a pixel art, an actual 3D version of it. And you'd think that after all this time, I'd finally have an idea on how to start a project like this, but... Dude, where do I start with this? I mean, this build is going to be massive, which means that if I want to have all the smallest details included, then a build limit of 380 blocks just isn't going to be big enough. So in order to combat this, I'm going to be installing a Minecraft data pack that increases the build limit from 320 blocks all the way up to 2,000. Now that I have the build limit problem fixed, I think I'm finally ready to start. And the first thing that I'm going to do is to make some outlines of the major shapes that are going to be in this build. And I think the best place to start would be the bottom wave. As I began to place my first blocks, I realized how big of a project this was actually going to be. And even with this in mind, I still continued to build until... Okay, so we finished the first part of the build and, wow, that actually kind of looks like it. At this stage in the build, I was feeling pretty confident. Little did I know that this was going to be the easiest part and that things would get exponentially harder from here. After completing yet another part of the massive structure, I came to a slight problem. So basically in the background of the original painting, there is a mountain. And it turns out that this mountain is actually Mount Fuji, which is one of the tallest mountains in Japan. So was I actually going to have to build an entire mountain, or could I just use perspective tricks in order to give the effect that the mountain is actually larger than it is? Well, that's gonna have to be a problem for the future because now, all the outlines are finished. Every single detail in this painting had to matter. If I were to make one tiny mistake in the outlines of it, the entire illusion would be broken. The 3D effect of it would have to be perfect. In order to get a better understanding of what the background was made out of, I headed down to my small version of the painting only to realize something. Every block that I've placed so far has been off. So instead of letting this bring the whole project down, I just continued building. Even though I had to restart practically everything, I didn't let this demotivate me, and it actually made me want to work on this even more. Redoing this part of the build actually made it a whole lot better. Not only was I able to align it properly, but I also included more details like boats and small parts of the wave. Eventually, the lag in my world began to get so bad to the point where it was unplayable, so I had to create a new world and paste the build in there. How do I even do this? I have to turn this 2D image into 3D. I mean, I guess I could study the structure of a wave.
It's actually come from the open for the press. It depends on the circulation. The amplitude of the wave.
I then began to work on the first wave, a project that would take me over 2 hours that day. As you can see here, I experimented with using sand, but then I realized that that wasn't going to work. So in the end, I just freehanded it. So I've been working on this for a little while now, and for some reason, something about it just doesn't seem quite right. I think the biggest issue that I'm running into right now is that Minecraft just doesn't have enough blocks. I guess I could just continue filling in this whole area and just see what it looks like afterwards, but I don't really know. When I was building this part, I was using a sort of grid pattern. This way, when I had all the grids built, I could fill them each in with blue terracotta. However, if I continue to place every single block by hand, it would result in me having to place over 500,000 blocks. I then finished the main structure of the wave and began to work on the broken part of the wave. Whilst I was working on this section, I realized how small it actually was. Luckily for me, most of this painting is sky, which is what I'll be working on next. I actually just realized that the colors of mine look nothing like the pictures, so I'm gonna have to find a solution for that. So there actually exists a website that allows you to turn any image you want into Minecraft blocks. So theoretically... Oh my god, it worked. So it seems like this is going to be the general block palette that we're going to be using for this part of the wave. Okay, so from right here it looks okay, but from a distance, that actually kind of looks like it. Okay, so like I said earlier, the next thing that I'm going to be working on is the background. Okay, so I think that the color of the top part looks fine, but this could still use some work. Okay, so after a while, I finally managed to get these colors to be right, and it took a long time. But now that we have that done, we can start working on more of the structure. Okay, so to make this build a whole lot easier, I have come up with a plan. First step is to make some lines where the shape of the wave is going to be. Okay, you know what? Pause right there, because it turns out that World Edit has a command called //line. And if I didn't know about this command, then I would have had to place almost 13,000 blocks all by hand. Okay, so I think that that's going to be the closest to this shade of blue that we're going to be able to get, so now I need to make the white part. Okay, so what I've done is set up a second Minecraft account to be constantly looking at the painting, and then I'm able to put an overlay on top of that so I can see exactly where to place the blocks. And while I was looking at it, I realized, yeah, the white part in this one looks nothing like the original. So now I need to fix it. Yeah, that's literally it. Okay, so once again, I'm changing plans with how I'm going to build this because now I think I'm going to make all the outlines of things and then use the / line command again to fill everything in, and then after that, I can color it. Okay, well, let's start with this wave. Okay, so now I have all the outlines complete, so now I'm going to fill everything in. While it might look weird from this angle, just know that by standing in the right spot, it'll line up perfectly with the original painting. And that's that part of the wave done. There are 3 different boats in this painting, each one being a traditional Japanese fishing boat. And of course, as a part of what I'm making, I also have to build these. While it might look weird in this specific replay mod shot, if you stand in the right spot, then it actually looks like it. Okay, so now I'm gonna make this boat right here. I used the same line technique as I was using before, except this time I was using a different color of wool. This way I wouldn't get confused later on. With this section shape now complete, you might be wondering why I left this part empty. That's because it's filled with, these things. I don't know what they are, but I don't like them. So I guess the next thing that I'm gonna be making the general shape for is this wave right here. Yeah, this isn't gonna work. But then, in a moment of inspiration, I realized. Wait, I watched a video about this. So, to put it simply, it's got to do with circles. Like, a lot of circles. like a lot of circles. Oh my god. That still doesn't look like the right shape. So I guess we're just gonna hop into a time lapse and finally finish all of the outlines. While this time-lapse is playing, I just wanted to tell you to subscribe because my videos are only going to get more insane from here on out, so why not do it? Okay, so I just posted this picture in my community tab, and out of everybody, only one person was able to kind of guess what it was. The reason why I'm saying kind of is because that's just the name of the artist, and speaking of the artist, it turns out that the wave isn't even the centerpiece of this painting. In fact, the main focus is all the way in the back. You see, this painting was part of a series of paintings that was called 36 Views of Mount Fuji, or this in Japanese, which is what the text at the top of the painting translates. This meant when I eventually had to build the mountain, I couldn't mess anything up, otherwise the entire painting would be ruined. Okay, yeah, I might be getting a little bit dramatic there, but anyway, yeah, let's finish this part of the wave. Okay, so I got like 4 parts of this painting left. I gotta do the coloring on everything. I gotta do the mountain in the background, the people, which I did not get the ones right there, and finally the wave. And so I think I'm gonna start by making probably what is the most important part of this painting, which is the wave. Oh yeah, by the way, I forgot to unpause the recording, so this whole part exists now. Okay, so now I'm gonna make the white part of the wave, and I hope it turns out good because this is the part of the painting that matters the most. Dude, this is actually starting to look insane, and to think that this is one of the last steps that I have to do. Oh, it's gonna be so cool when it's done. like I said before, I'm trying to make this as accurate as possible, and if I want to make it as accurate as possible, then I have to build the people. I don't know how I'm going to do this. I have finally finished every single shape on this build, which means that all there is left to do is to color it. This feels so weird. I have one last block to place, and then this entire thing is done. Oh my god. Wait, I wonder if I can get some of my friends to think that it's the actual thing. Hang on a second. Okay, so I spent like 2 months working on this build, and it is the Great Wave in Minecraft, so I'm gonna send what I based it off of first.
Oh, screenshot, okay.
Yeah, just screenshot.
Wait, oh, so this is the original? Wait, what? You just... Wait, no, you sent the Minecraft one first, no? But looking at it in Discord without zooming in, it looks like actually identical pixel art.
And you want to see? You want to know the best part about it? It's 3D. Let me
What?
show you.
Huh? What the heck? Yo! Oh wait, that is trippy.
And then you fly in,
What?
and then everything is 3D.
What the? How do you? What? It looks crazy. Well, subscribe to Eel.
I'm gonna be honest. I didn't even tell him to say that, so I guess you gotta do it. Okay, so I'm gonna send the one that I based it off of first, and then I'm gonna send mine. So here's the one that I based it off of.
Is that... Dude, that's a pretty cool wave.
That's the Minecraft building?
Are you sure it
Or
is?
or the painting? Well, I'm looking at... Look, it's the painting. That's the painting.
That's the
Wait. No, that's not. No, that is not. No.
Like I said before, this video took me over 2 months to make, so I really hope you enjoyed it. And without further ado, this is the final comparison. Okay, so this thing is pretty ridiculous. But my next build is actually going to have millions more blocks than this one did. And that's because next I'm going to be building an entire solar system in Minecraft, or star system, whatever you want to call it. So the way that I found the solar system to build in this video is that I have this app called Space Engine, and pretty much it's the entire universe all in my computer. And I just flew around until eventually I found a solar system that worked, and the one that I found was pretty insane. Okay, so I think I finally found one. The interesting thing about this solar system is that there's actually 5 different stars, making it a quintuple star system. The only question I have now is, where should I start? Oh my god, is this too big? I started off by replacing the red wool entirely with sea lanterns before eventually adding thin layers of glass paints to act as a sort of stellar atmosphere. With the basic atmosphere of my new star now complete, I moved on to something that would change the look of it entirely: sunspots. They can appear on stars due to changes in the magnetic field, and while the ones that I'm building right now might not look that big, just know that each one of them is about the same size as our own planet. I continued placing the spots all around the star until I eventually had around 50. So I guess the next logical step would be to add solar flares. Before adding the solar flares, I recolored the entire surface of the star using some of the brightest blocks in Minecraft. The ones that I'm building right now covered the entire star, which finally made it completed. Oh my god, this actually looks insane. have to do this 4 more times. What I didn't mention yet is that the last star is actually a brown dwarf. They're stars that have more mass than gas giants, but less mass than actual stars, essentially making them something in the middle of a star and a planet. After finishing the surface of the brown dwarf, I used a tool that would be one of the most important details when building the rest of the solar system: light. This alone brought the entire star to life, meaning that I had completed every single star in my solar system. However, finishing the stars was only just the beginning, because now I have to build planets. And it turns out that there's actually 11. The first planet that I started to work on was actually quite similar to Saturn, the 6th planet in our own solar system. I started off by creating thin circles to act as rings. Once those were completed, I rotated them exactly 19 degrees and positioned them onto the planet. However, even with the rings on the planet, it still wasn't completed. I used the same light trick I used before in order to bring the realism of this planet to another level. Once that was complete, I moved on to giving each of the rings their own shades of light. After shading all of the rings, I gave the planet a shadow. This meant that it was finally time to build its moons. And after all that, my first planet was complete. Now that I had the first planet complete, I only had 10 remaining, so I guess let's move on to the next one. The second planet was also a gas giant, being even bigger than the first one. This one, however, didn't have any rings, which made it a little bit easier to build. After finishing the surface details and lighting of the planet, I moved on to its atmosphere, which had a yellow tint. Finally, I added all the moons, which made the planet complete. Up next is something that you probably haven't ever seen before. You see, positioned between 2 of my stars lied a small rocky planet, similar to Venus. Due to the fact that it was between 2 stars, half the backside is actually lighter because of light shining on it from the left and right. After this, I scattered small volcanoes all over the planet, some of which even illuminating the darkest parts of it. This planet also had a thin layer of clouds, which I made by creating a separate sphere and painting them on there. And with that, another planet was complete. Something I've noticed with all the planets so far is that the atmospheres aren't really that difficult to make. On the other hand, the actual coloring and texturing of the planet is much more difficult. If I were to mess anything up, the colors would be completely off. The atmosphere and lighting on this planet actually made it look so much better. Also, with this planet done, I had finished building all of the planets orbiting around my first star. Up next was another rocky planet, except this time it had almost no atmosphere. Also, it was covered with these little white spots. I'm not exactly sure what they are, so if anyone knows, leave a comment down below telling me what they might be. Anyways, to make this planet a little bit easier to build, I made a small block palette on top of it. This would greatly help me in the future when it came down to building some of the more complex planets, like the ones that have rings. To complete this planet, I painted the outside with the light, and it was done. The next planet that I'm going to be making is another gas giant, similar to the one that I made before, except that it's a little bit more blue. I created another block palette for this planet filled with various shades of blue and purple blocks. The way that I'm making most of these gas giants is by splitting up the clouds into different layers of colored wool before finally replacing them with the actual block. I then used hollow spheres of glass panes to make the atmospheres of these planets. In our universe, rocky planets usually don't have rings, but in my solar system, this is different because the next planet I'm going to make has a small ring system, likely due to small asteroids or moons getting torn apart by the planet's gravity. This is probably my favorite planet that I built, along with being the most realistic out of them all. Next was another gas giant. This planet, along with a few others, is actually bigger than the brown dwarf that I built earlier, which really shows how big some of these planets can really get to be. Also, it has like 25 moons, which are represented by these little tiny dots right here. Once that planet was complete, I moved on to another ringed planet. This was the third to last planet in my solar system, meaning that I was almost entirely done with everything. As I was building this planet, I realized that my journey with the solar system was finally coming to an end. All the countless hours spent building stars, moons, planets, it was almost all over. In a way, I was going to kind of miss this project. It was definitely one of my favorite things that I've ever built in Minecraft. I finished the planet by painting the light onto it before moving on to my final planet. The final planet was a rocky planet. Everything that I built up to now had come down to this single moment, this one final planet. It was small, so it didn't take me long. So after 13 minutes, I'd finished building a solar system in Minecraft. So, that kind of brings up the question, what are you supposed to build after you build an entire solar system in Minecraft? Boo. Did that scare you? Well, we're going to be building fears in Minecraft next. That'll be fun. Well, to start, I thought I would build one of the most common fears, the fear of heights. Because this is one of the most common fears, I had to make it look good. For this first build, I started with two very large mountains and then connected them with a bridge in the middle. After adding some details to the bridge, I realized it wasn't very scary, so I intentionally damaged it in order to make it feel a lot less secure. I mean, if I was standing here in real life, I don't think I would feel very safe, so I guess that's the first fear complete. This is just the first of 7 different fears that I'm going to be building in this video, and I don't just mean in Minecraft, because at the end of this video, I'm going to be traveling to the largest cliff that I know of to conquer my own fear of heights. Up next is megalophobia, or the fear of large objects. I think the best example of megalophobia is pretty much anything related to space. Pretty much what I'm making is one of the dreadnoughts from Star Wars. Right now I have the basic outlines of it complete, but filling in all the details is going to be the hard part. So I think I'm going to start with the bridge over here. Okay, so that's the bridge of the ship complete, and it's actually looking pretty good right now. Up next, I worked on the hull of the ship. This is one of the most detailed parts, so it took the longest. It also included this weird octagon shape in the middle, which is a little bit hard to make. After this, I added the engines to the back of the ship before detailing the entire top of it. Finally, I added the 2 giant laser cannons to the bottom of the ship, which meant, after around 5 hours of work, I think that's the build for megalophobia complete. And if for some reason you still don't think it's that big, well, here it is compared to a literal planet I built in my last video. And speaking of planets, all of my past, current, and future builds will be available to download on my Patreon, link in the description. The next fear that I'm going to be building in Minecraft is a mix of submechanophobia and, this. It's basically the fear of large things underwater. If you couldn't tell what I'm making, it's the base of an oil rig. This part is actually going to be completely submerged and attached to the ground underwater. But I'm not going to do that yet, because now I'm working on the base. Okay, so this is my current progress on the build. I have all of the outlines complete, and also I started working on this building right here. It included a fire stack. I think I actually did a pretty good job on this, but now I have to work on all of this. But before I do that, I actually made a little helicopter pad right here. So I think I'm gonna start with these smaller buildings right here and then slowly work up to the bigger ones. And then finally make the 2 cranes over here. So that's the first building complete, and for how small it is, I think it actually looks pretty good. Okay, so I finished the second building, and I think I'm just gonna finish all of these 5 buildings in a time lapse. Alright, that is the oil rig complete, except now we have to actually move it underwater. And finally, the build for submechanophobia is complete. But before I move on to my next build, I also said that I would be building something for megalohydrothalassophobia, the fear of large creatures or objects underwater. So what I'm thinking is that at the bottom of the oil rig here is to make a giant squid. Okay, so I'm going to start my squid right here and then have its tentacles reach all the way up to the bottom of the oil rig, which is right there if you can even see it. I've never actually built a squid in Minecraft, but I think the head is kind of like this, just on both sides. Yeah, kind of like that, and then I think by putting it on all 4 sides, it actually looks pretty good. Just need to fill it all in now. I also have to make what's called a stabilizing fin at the top, which I'm gonna probably just make out of red sandstone slabs. Okay, I think that'll actually work pretty good for the stabilizing fins. Now I need to actually work on the head of the squid. I think the hardest part about making the head of the squid is trying to actually make it look natural instead of just like a straight shape. But I think I managed to get it pretty good, so now I'm gonna make the eye. Yeah, it's pretty simple, but I think it'll do. Now for the hardest part of the build, which is to make the 8 long arms and the 2 tentacles. And that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. It is starting to look pretty good right now, but I'm still not done because now I have to add the 2 tentacles. Yeah, these are just arms. Okay, so it turns out that the tentacles are actually like really long, like 5 times longer than these, so... And for the final detail for this squid, I have to add a beak. Okay, let's just not talk about this. The next fear that I'm going to be making in Minecraft is nyctophobia, or the fear of the dark. This fear can be hard to represent in Minecraft, but I think I found a way. My idea is to make a large maze for people to explore whilst also obscuring your vision to prevent you from seeing anything around you. What I did was mark out the correct path with diamond blocks before slowly blending it in with the rest of the maze. You also might be wondering why I left certain parts of the maze to be empty. This is because I plan on having small dark forests built in these places. But before I add the forest, I need to actually elevate the walls up a little bit so you can't just jump over everything. I think that having 100 block tall walls could actually be kind of cool because not only would the inside look good, but I could also decorate the outside. Okay, yeah, this is definitely tall enough. This is already feeling pretty cool to walk around in, but the problem is it's not really that dark. I also just retextured the entire inside of it, so now it's a lot less bland. Okay, so I have a couple more things to add to this build before I can call it done. One is a forest, another is a roof to the top of the build, a fade to black at the top, and some torches on the inside. Okay, so I got a roof on the build, but it still kind of looks like something that I would find the volume of on a math test. I got a fade to black on the inside, but I guess now that means I have to make a forest. So I'm going to start by replacing the entire floor with grass. Okay, finally, my build for the fear of darkness is complete. Because the last few fears were so difficult to build, I thought I would move on to something simpler. Because up next, I'm going to be making agoraphobia, which is the fear of open spaces. Okay, so I just created the world, and it looks like it's straight out of one of those, like, I made Minecraft fun again videos. Like, what? Okay, so what I've created might look kind of cool, but it still feels a little bit empty. Wait a minute. So for this build, I'm probably just gonna keep it simple and make a small house right here. And since this is the fear of open spaces, I have to make the house really small because I want to actually show how big this place really is. Yeah, I'm looking at this build from a distance, and I think it actually fits the fear pretty well. For reference, that's the house right there. Yeah, it's pretty small. Anyway, I think that's the build for this fear complete. With this fear now complete, I only had one left to build. The final build that I'm going to do for this video is pyrophobia, which is the extreme fear of fire. So for this build, I'm pretty much just going to be making a burning hellscape. Yeah, that's literally it. Okay, so what I've got here is a whole bunch of sand, and I'm actually going to try something that I've never actually tried with any of my builds before, which is copying this whole area and then flipping it upside down so that the floor is also a roof. And it actually worked, but I still do have to fix a couple of things like that. Alright, now all that's left to do is to replace all the stone with black stone, basalt, and pretty much anything else. And while this time-lapse is playing, I just wanted to tell you to subscribe. This video took me a really long time to make, and subscribing would help me make more videos like this in the future. Even though the build looks pretty cool right now, there isn't really that much fire. And after adding some fire and smoke, I can finally call this build complete. But before I showcase all of the builds in one epic shot, you might remember that at the start of this video, I said that I would be conquering my own fear fights in real life. So that's what I'm about to do. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, that was probably one of my favorite endings to the video that I have ever made because, I don't know, it was just kind of cool. Anyways, at this point, I was starting to get tired of doing all of these giant builds. Yeah, so I decided to upgrade an entire dimension next. But how do you even go about upgrading an entire dimension? Well, I think I have a plan. You see, Minecraft's end dimension is split up into two different sections, the main island and the outer end islands. Okay, so the first thing that I'm gonna upgrade is the main island and then slowly work my way out to the outer end islands. Okay, so you see this island right here? Yeah, it needs to go. Same with the obsidian pillars. Okay, so the green markers are going to be where all of the end crystals are. So now I'm gonna start working on the actual island. And that's the top of the island complete. I just realized how big the top of this build is, and I guess that'll only make the build even more insane later on in this video. So pretty much what I'm doing is grabbing the entire end island and then flipping it upside down so I can put a realistic bottom on it. Or I guess more realistic than whatever this is. Okay, so I got around half of it complete, which means that the bottom of the end island is almost done. And there we go. Now all that's left to do is to flip it upside down and put it right there. Okay, yeah, this is actually massive, but I still do need to build the obsidian pillars on it. But I actually just thought, instead of having them as pillars, I thought it might be more interesting to have them all spikes, like going towards the center. Kind of like this, except just 10 of them. Alright, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. I actually thought it might be kind of interesting to have like a common theme of spikes in this build, so yeah, because right now the main end island is still looking a little bit bland. So that's why I'm gonna put these little spikes everywhere. I actually don't know if I put too many on or not, but with shaders it looks really cool. Also, there still isn't really a way to get from the island spawn to the actual island itself, so what I've been working on is a layer of endstone brick slabs going all the way around this, just to make it look a little bit smoother. Oh, also a chicken god in the end. I don't know exactly how, but and that actually made it look a whole lot better. But I still have one more thing to make before I can call the end island complete. Okay, so what I'm planning on doing is making some giant purple clouds to be above the main end island, and then I can fill them with stars to create an overall better atmosphere of the whole end. And I think I would say that that's the main end island complete. So here's what the new end island looks like. Alright, so now that I have the main end island done, I'm going to move on to the outer end islands. This is going to include upgrading the end city and end ship along with these floating islands here. So I'm going to start by upgrading this end city right here. Okay, so it turns out that the end city can actually be split up into multiple different sections. Okay, so this right here is what's called the base. Yeah, that should be pretty obvious. This is what's called the tower. That should be pretty obvious as well. And then this thing right here, it's kind of like a fat version of it. Wait a minute. And then we got the end ship. Yeah, pretty cool stuff. Okay, so I'm gonna start by upgrading the base of it, and it looks like it has 3 stories. Okay, so I got the base done, and it's 15 by 15 blocks, and that should be big enough to put some pretty good details in there. Okay, so I think this is gonna be like the general structure for the first floor, and I made it a little eye in the middle because like ender eyes. I'm also wanting this build to be pretty symmetrical, so that's why I'm copying this design on all of the sides. There we go, that actually looks pretty good. Okay, I changed the block to actually have it look more like the original structure, and it looks better, I think. Alright, so I think that is the first 4 complete. I'm gonna be doing the interiors later on, so don't worry, I'm not forgetting about them. So yeah, right now I'm essentially just adding some minor details to the build, and also I still have to make the roof up there. Yeah, then the base of the end city will be done. And for the roof, I'm just gonna make a simple outline of purple stairs, and also fill the inside with purple slabs. I added some end rods, and I think that's the base complete. Okay, so now I'm working on the tower part of it, which is going to split up into multiple different sections. Okay, so that's going to be the general shape of it, and since I'm basing it off of this end city, it should be 23 blocks tall. Just like that, and fill the walls in. So around a quarter of the way up, there is a bridge going off in this direction that leads to a small room, and that's what I'm trying to make right now. So I came up with a design for this railway, which I didn't even know was possible, but it actually looks pretty cool. Okay, and I made an entrance so that you can actually walk out here, so now it's time to work on this little building. Oh yeah, by the way, that time lapse was like half an hour. I just thought I'd let you know that. Okay, so I got this structure done, and it looks a little bit weird. But then again, yeah, I think end cities in general are just kind of weird looking. Okay, so next I'm gonna try and make like the top of the tower here. So that's gonna be the base of it and some walls. All right, so that is the top of the tower complete. Okay, so my next building in the end city is this one right here. And if you look closely, you can tell that it's actually just this one with a second floor. Okay, so next I'm going to work on the 4-way intersection here, and then finally I'm going to upgrade the end ship. So this bridge right here actually goes out to the end ship, so I'm not going to be building anything on it right now except for the little arch on it. So now I got to build this really weird looking staircase going off into this room, which shouldn't really be that hard. So I got the stairs on it, now I just need to come up with a design. Okay, so there's that room, and this thing is actually starting to look pretty crazy right now. This room also has a tower sticking up on top of it, so there it is. I'm not going to build this one quite yet because it has a new room on it, but this one shouldn't take too long. Okay, so that means that the last room before I upgrade the end ship is this one right here, and it shouldn't take too long because it's actually kind of similar to the one down there. And while this time lapse is playing, I just wanted to tell you to subscribe because I'm trying to reach 30,000 subscribers within the next few months. Also, all of my builds are downloadable on my Patreon, link in the description. Alright, all that's left in upgrading the end city is building the interiors and making the end ship. And I'm gonna be honest, I suck at building boats. Okay, so I've been working on this for about 2 days, and this is all I have to show. Okay, so this part is actually starting to look pretty better. Unfortunately, it is only half of it, so... Okay, that actually looks pretty good considering the fact that I never really built boats in Minecraft. Okay, so I got the back on it, and now all that's left to do is to make the top, and I think I'm actually gonna make some sails on it. Okay, so this is the new upstairs area, and normally there's a potion here, but I'm not putting that there yet. So I guess now it's time to work on the sails. And the last detail in the end ship is the elytra. Oh, also I did an interior of every room in here, but that's kind of boring, so I didn't really include it. So here's a tour of every room. Okay, so now that the end city is done, all that's left to do is to upgrade the islands out here. So I kind of want to base it off of the nether and have 3 different biomes here, and have each of them have their own unique colors. Okay, so my idea for the first one is to have it kind of like geometrical shapes, like hexagons and octagons and stuff. So now to finish this area, I'm going to place some chorus fruits everywhere and make them all grow. There we go. So that is the first custom biome complete. So my idea for the second biome, which is going to be in this area, is to make a chorus fruit forest. The way that I'm going to make this is by placing chorus fruit on top of other chorus fruit so that it becomes an even bigger chorus fruit. And then I'll have these really weird big looking trees. Okay, now that I have all the trees planted, it's time to actually grow them, and I hope this doesn't lag my game too much. Okay, here we go. Oh my god. Wow, that didn't actually go that badly. Okay, that was actually pretty satisfying, but I think I can do better. Whoa. Alright, and one more time just to make them as tall as possible. 3, 2, 1. Oh wow. Walking through this, especially with shaders, is actually really cool. And for the final build of this video, I'm going to be transforming this island into an obsidian plains biome. So now that I have all the obsidian placed down, I think I'm going to finish it off by placing a whole bunch of spikes everywhere. After doing all that, I decided that it was finally time to tone it down a little bit, and next I'd just be building a couple of houses. A couple of houses in every single version of the game, that is. And I thought that the best way to start was in the very first version of Minecraft, which is version 1.0. Alright, and we are in. Wow, there is not really that much to work with. Alright, so the first house is going to be made right here. Okay, so this is what the shape of the house is going to be, and I think now I'm going to add a roof to it. Alright, so there that is. Now I'm going to put down the upside down... Wait, what? Okay, so you can't put stairs upside down. That's kind of annoying. I think that's probably the best I can do, and it doesn't even look that good. And just make a quick interior, and the 1.0 house is complete. So let's move on to 1.1. So it turns out that this update didn't actually add any blocks, but it did add beaches, so I'm gonna make a beach house. Okay, so this is the closest thing I could find to a beach, so I'm gonna make the house right here. Also, apparently spruce or birch never got a name, it's just called wood. Anyway, there's some legs, a base. Every time that I gotta look for a new item, I have to scroll through all of this just to find it. Like, why is the door right there? Put some walls and windows, and finally a roof. Alright, and here is the interior, which means that it's time to move on to update 1.2. Alright, welcome to Minecraft version 1.2, the update where not much was added. Again. Although something that was added though was the jungle biome, and I just happened to spawn really close to one. So I'm gonna do the obvious and make a couple of jungle tree houses. So I'm gonna have one of them right here, and have a second one right here, and I have a bridge connecting them. Okay, well, for some reason the trees are just decaying on themselves. I don't really know why, but I hope that's fixed in the next update. Okay, so both of these houses are just gonna be circular shapes, so let me just... Unfortunately, we still don't have access to upside down stairs, so we're gonna just have to do this for now. Not many doors have been added as well, so we only have access to the oak door, which doesn't really look that good. Also, we can use fences for windows, which actually looks kind of cool. So for the roof, I'm just gonna be using wooden slabs. Okay, maybe not. You can't actually place them on the top half of the blocks, so we're just gonna have to stick to the classic roof made of stairs. So this is what a pyramid roof looks like when you don't have angled stairs. It's a little bit weird. Anyway, for the second house, I'm just gonna repeat this design down here, and there we go. Right now, I'm working on the bridge, which shouldn't take too long to make since it's just from here to there. So that is the 1.2 house, or should I say houses, complete. So now it's time to move on to 1.3. So in Minecraft version 1.3, they didn't really add that many blocks, so what I'm going to do instead is add upgrades to the current houses that I already have. Oh my god, this is the best update ever. I finally have access to searching items. This is so good. Okay, so I accidentally loaded the world in Minecraft version 1.20, and it didn't really like that. I still have this version of the world, and it's available to download, link in the description. Alright, so yeah, I'm gonna just make a new world in Minecraft version 1.3. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna do is just clear out a little area here. Okay, so for this house, I'm gonna try and go for a medieval kind of feel to it, so I'm gonna start with an outline. Stone bricks are also added, so what I can do is make a wall like this, and then add some variations into it with cobblestone. And for a little bit of extra detail, I'm going to put trapdoors on the side of the wood here. And finally, just make a really quick floor. So for the top part of the house, I'm actually replacing the trapdoors with spruce stairs so that I can build up from there. So I'm going to add a third story right here so that the roof looks a little bit cooler. So those are the outlines complete. And it's kind of looks weird right now, but that should be fixed once I add a roof. Minecraft still hasn't updated the glass texture, so you can still barely see through it. Also figured out that trapdoors make for some pretty good windows, so I'm putting them everywhere. I'm also going to add a balcony right here. So for the roof, I'm going to use stone brick stairs and spruce stairs. So now I'm just going to repeat this roof up here, and then the house should be done. Alright, so that's the 1.3 house complete, so now it's time to move on to 1.4. In Minecraft version 1.4, they added mossy cobblestone walls and normal cobblestone walls. They also added a bunch of crops, so I think the only obvious thing is to add a garden to this house. So there is the outer wall. So the two new crops added were carrots and potatoes, so that's what I'm gonna make the farm out of. Okay, so the last thing that I'm gonna do in this update is add an interior to this house using the new flower pots. Alright, so this is what the new interior of the house looks like. So that means it's time to move on to update 1.5. It actually turns out that 1.5 is the redstone update, so why not just make a secret house? Okay, so after a little bit of work, I managed to get this thing. It's not very secret, but it works. So Minecraft 1.6 didn't really add that much because it was the horse update, so all I'm gonna do is... yeah, that's literally all I'm doing. Minecraft 1.7 actually added a whole bunch of new blocks and a whole bunch of new biomes, so I'm gonna just make a whole new house. I tried building the 1.7 house in the theme of a witch house, but I didn't really like it, so I'm gonna try something completely different and make a modern house. So like any good house, I'm gonna start by flattening this area. Yeah, that's not very good. So to start the house, I'm gonna make a whole bunch of different shapes where the rooms are gonna be. Okay, so that actually looks pretty good. Now I'm gonna add a floor of acacia planks to the house, just like that. And since it's a modern house, it's also gonna have really big windows. And right here, I'm actually gonna make a pool. So the roof in this area is made out of cyan stained clay, and then I'm also gonna have gray stained glass panes going around the outside as a little balcony. All right, just put a staircase in, and now I'm gonna finish these walls right here. Also, yes, they still have not added new doors yet, so I'm still stuck with this. I'm also adding a second balcony right now because apparently one just isn't enough. And for the final details of this house, I'm going to add some beach chairs and some greenery on the outside. And with that, the 1.7 house is complete, and it actually looks pretty good. Minecraft 1.8 is the Bountiful update, and it added a ton of new blocks, a lot of which can be used for terraforming, so that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to use these two blocks to make a road connecting this house to this house, and then use these two blocks to make it look more natural. So that is the road complete, but right now it's still floating. So now I'm going to use some of the newer blocks like andesite and polished andesite to make it look a lot more natural. So that's half of it done, and the other half. Alright, now it is time to move on to 1.9. Minecraft version 1.9 is probably one of the most controversial updates because of this. And this. Oh, and also this. Oh, also can't forget about this one too. So what if I made a build kind of celebrating all these features like a Coliseum or something? I think I'm going to make it right around in this area, and I don't want to make anything too big, so it's going to be about this big, but it's also going to have balconies on these off to the sides here so that people can actually watch the fights in the middle. Okay, finally after a lot of building, I got the floor all filled in. Okay, so unfortunately we still don't have sandstone walls, but I think sandstone stairs are still gonna work just fine. Right now I'm building up the walls, and I think I'm gonna make them around 5 blocks tall. And there we go, now it is time to add some detail. Okay, so I put some stairs down, and I think I'm actually gonna use birch fences as sandstone walls. Alright, so now it is time to work on the places where people sit, and I'll start by making a ring of stairs all the way around, just like that. And now I'm going to start building upwards out here, and I'm also going to put a ring of fences around this layer too. Now I'm going to build out a couple of blocks this way. So right now I'm putting in the chairs, and after that I'll start working on the actual walls. That is all the chairs in. Now I'm just going to repeat this design on all 4 sides. Now I just need to come up with something for the corners here. So that is the full interior of the Coliseum complete. Now we just need to work on the outside. The final thing that I'm going to do in this build is to just detail the walls outside. Okay, now it is time to move on to Minecraft version 1.10. Minecraft version 1.10 once again didn't actually add that many blocks, so what I'm going to do is make something that hasn't been added into the game yet, and that is the mushroom. So I'm going to just make a couple of these and I'll get back to you when I'm done. Alright, so that is the build for 1.10 finished, and it's pretty simple, but I think it actually looks pretty good. So I'm in 1.11 right now, and I'm looking at the bottom of the shulker box's texture. I think that I could actually use this to make some pretty cool details, but I need to figure out which block would actually work for that first. So this is what I've come up with so far, and it's pretty simple, but I still think I can come up with more uses for them. I'm even putting them in spots that you wouldn't really notice, like in the grass. I never even thought of using shulkers as decorations like this, and it doesn't even look that bad. The only other block added in this update was the observer, but there's not really much that I can do with that in this world. Alright, so now we are in update 1.12, and... oh. I still want to make use of these blocks, and I think I actually came up with an idea on how to. For example, I could put the red glazed terracotta inside of the mushrooms. We can also use concrete powder to add more variations into the stone. And in the grass, even in the pool too. Now I'm going to move on to update 1.13, and this could get a little bit interesting. Well, that's the first time that I've seen this message so far. I noticed that everything's a whole lot less contrasted now, but at least I can swim now. Okay, so what I'm thinking is to make a pretty large aquarium right around in this area. But before I do that, I'm actually going to make some custom trees using the new wood blocks. I can even use some slabs and trapdoors as just a little bit of extra detail to the tree. Now I'm just going to make a couple more of these. I also added this, which I actually thought was kind of cool. Anyway, now I'm going to build the aquarium. Now I'm going to fill the outline with sand. Now I need to build the walls up. And for that, I'm going to use light blue stained glass. Okay, so now I'm going to make some structures inside before finally filling it all with water. I'm going to start with some basic terrain, and to finish it off, I'm going to make a giant stone structure in the middle. Now I just need to fill it with water and finally fish. I actually completely forgot about the new underwater plants, so I'm going to put those in first. Start with a little bit of seagrass, a couple of sea pickles, and finally some kelp. Now I'm going to add a bunch of tropical fish. So that is the aquarium for Minecraft version 1.13 complete. Alright, so this is update 1.14, and it is the village and pillage update. Now I can actually have decent looking storage inside of this house. I can use andesite walls on this for a little bit of extra detail too. I can put lanterns in the corners of these walls, and along this path too. I can even add a chimney to my house, just like that, and put a campfire in the forest, add some signs onto the side of the house, and a little path to the house. Now it's time to move on to update 1.15. But before I move on to the 1.15 build, I just wanted to tell you to subscribe, only because you've made it this far into the video. It helps out the channel a ton, and I want to hit 100,000 subscribers sometime in the future. So it's going to be a fairly short building made out of mostly glass and spruce wood, and this is where the entrance is going to be. Now I'm going to repeat these windows on the other side, put some fences on the walls for a little bit of extra detail, and for even more detail I'm going to put some vines on it, along with some other extra added greenery. You can even put vines on top of leaves for a little bit of extra variation in them. Now it's time for the roof, which I'm actually going to make mostly out of slabs, which could make a pretty interesting effect. So that is the exterior of the build complete. Now I just need to work on the inside. So this is where all the bee nests are going to be, and now I need to add a bunch more decorations, like filling it with flowers, and of course, bees. So that is 1.15's build complete. So this is update 1.16, which is the nether update, and it actually made me kind of realize that my village is actually missing a nether portal. So I'm going to make a custom one right here. So it's going to be a little bit large, but that should be fine because I'm going to make a tree around it. So it's mainly going to be made out of oak wood, but it's actually going to be partially corrupted near the portal using some of the new nether blocks. But first I got to actually make the tree. So I think I'm not actually going to build the leaves on it because that would just take forever. So I'm going to just make it a dead tree instead. Okay, so there's not really that much else I can do other than actually adding the corrupted part, which is going to be around here. So I replaced some of the grass like that. So I think that'd be the 1.16 build completed. So what I want to do in update 1.17 is start work on what is going to be the biggest build that I've done so far, which is a giant castle. In this update, I'm going to just outline it using deep slate bricks and then work more on it in the next one. So this is going to be the main part of it, and I'm probably going to make some other parts off to the side. Alright, so there are the outlines of it, and now I'm going to move on to 1.18 where I'm going to start building it up. So this is actually the first update that I'm going to give myself access to world edit to because of just the size of this build. So I'm going to start by making a really big gradient in the middle all the way up to the top. Also, I can finally do it in a time lapse. Okay, so now I'm going to work on the smaller towers, which shouldn't take as long as the big one in the middle. And finally, the 2 big towers in the back. So these 2 are just going to be the normal castle walls with maybe a watchtower right here, but up here is probably going to be more of a pitched roof. And there we go. Now I'm just going to add some watchtowers in the corner here. So there's the base of it. Now I'm just going to add a roof and even some campfires for a little bit of smoke. Okay, so now it's time for me to detail the actual walls right here. So that is the front of the castle complete. Now I just need to work on the top of it. And for that, I'm going to complete it in one big time lapse. Time lapse over. That was like 40 minutes and 10 seconds. So now it's time to move on to update 1.19, where I'm actually going to make a reasonable sized house. Okay, so for 1.19, 1.20, and 1.21, I'm going to just make some really simple small houses right here. So I'm going to make the 1.19 house right now. I can use birch and stripped birch to add a little bit of texture right here. Same thing on the other side, so now I'm going to make the door. It's looking okay right now, but it's still lacking a little bit of depth, so now I'm going to add like a little bit of a roof and some windows. And now a garden in the front, and add some lanterns on the fence. Now it's time for the roof. So now that the roof is added, I realized that this house actually kind of needs a second story. And now a quick roof. I think I'm actually going to extend this window a little bit upwards so that I can get rid of this line right here and make it look a lot more natural. And I'm going to put a chimney right here. And finished off, I'm going to put a little bit of moss on it. Now it's time to move on to update 1.20. Okay, I'm going to just say it, 1.20 was not the greatest update ever. I mean, we have hanging signs and stuff, but even those aren't the greatest. You can actually make some pretty interesting designs with the decorated pots, which I think is actually pretty cool. Also, they added the cherry trees, so I'm going to put some of those around the area. Now it's time for the final update of this video, 1.21. Okay, so this is update 1.21, and it is the final update. I also managed to get the old houses into the new world, so that's actually pretty cool. And the final house of this video is going to be built right here. I'm going to make use of all of the new tuff blocks and also all of the new copper blocks. I've never actually played this update before, and so far I'm actually really enjoying these new blocks. I'm going to use some of the new copper trap doors as windows, which actually look kind of nice. It's going to have a really large roof. I don't really know why, but it seems like it'd be kind of cool. So that is the front complete, although it doesn't really have sides or a back. So each of the inner stairs are going to have another window right there, so now I'm going to work on that. Okay, now I just need to make a little bit of room for the back of it, and I might have to get rid of a couple of village houses. And finally, I'm going to make the roof. This could get a little bit hard though. And lastly, I'm going to add a little bit of variation into the roof. And finally, after all of this, I can say that I've built a Minecraft house in every single update. Up next, I decided to go back to following guidebooks, and this time I would be following a much more difficult guide, which is the Medieval Castle book. The reason why it's a lot harder to follow is that a lot of the builds in this book were a whole lot larger and had less detailed instructions, so you kind of had to follow along with the pictures. So the first thing that the book wants me to do is to mark the 4 corners of my build by making turrets. Luckily, I already have an area cleared out, so it shouldn't be that hard to make. So to start, I'm going to make a 7x7 square and have slabs on all the edges, and make a 12 block tall outline, fill the outline in with stone, and they want you to make the windows like this, which I thought is actually kind of interesting. Now I'm going to make the top of it, which has some stairs like this, with some fences in the middle. Now I go up a block and add some of these. So that is the outside of it complete, but it still needs an interior. And it's actually really simple because it's just a ladder and some spruce planks to separate it. Now I just need to make 4 of these. Also, this didn't really take 30 minutes, it took more like 5. Okay, so after a little bit of work, I got all of the towers placed in, and this is actually really big. Okay, so this is the center here, and they want me to start by making a 22 by 11 block stone square, and then go up 8 blocks, and fill all of this in. And for the top half of it, I actually have to go up another 8 blocks, and then fill all of this in. Actually, I have to go down 2 blocks so that I can make where the floor is gonna be. And then this is just gonna be a little wall on the roof. Now I'm gonna use some stone slabs for a little bit of detail. And now for the floor. Just like that. Now it's time for these walls, and this one is just windows, so it shouldn't be that hard. So I was kind of confused on how they did the windows here, but it turns out that they're not actually windows, and instead they're 4 stairs, which looks like this. Okay, so they want you to make these little pillars in the front here, and also a giant door in the middle. Okay, so it's actually almost done. Now I just need to add the door here. The final step to this is to add 2 towers off to the side here, so... So this build actually looks really good, considering that it was made all the way back in 2016. Anyway, now it's time to make the walls. And it's actually really simple because it's just this repeated about 100 times. Okay, so now I have a massive blank area where I'm going to build all of the builds. And the first one is actually a modification to this, and it should make it so that I can actually open and close. Okay, so after a really long time, but still not 2 hours, I finally got this working. Anyway, it's actually pretty cool how this thing works, because you flip this lever, and then the top goes down, and then you flip it again, and then the top goes back up. Okay, so this is the first official test in the actual build, and it actually works. Okay, so now that all the walls are in, it's time to make what is probably going to be the hardest build of this video, and that's the castle keep. So I'm going to make it in the very center here where that diamond block is. Okay, so the outline actually all goes up 14 blocks. And the corners actually go up a little bit higher, but I'm just going to wait to do those. I'm going to start with the entrance, and it actually has a ton of detail. So apparently this is going to be an intermediate build, which somehow means that it's easier than all of that. And looking at it already, it just does not look that much easier. Anyway, now I'm going to make some designs on the walls. It's kind of like a checkerboard pattern where it goes all over it, and there's even some stairs mixed in. Okay, so now I'm going to work on these 2 walls and also the back one, which I'm pretty sure are all the exact same. Now I'm going to make this design on both sides. Now that I have some lines of stone on there, I have to put some windows. Now it is on the other side and the back too. So now I have to make 4 of the towers on the back here, and after that it'll almost be done. And I'm going to start by building this up 15 blocks. So that's what it looks like all built up. Now I just need to add some details on the sides. Okay, so now the last thing to do is just to add the roof on this tower. And there we go. Okay, now I just need to make that 3 more times. Okay, so there is the 4 sides done, so now it's time to work on the top. And first I have to fill all of this in. There's actually these little stone designs on here that are pretty hard to make out because it's stone mixed with stone bricks, and I think I did actually get it pretty good. So the last thing I'm going to do on the exterior of the build is make this little elevated stone area in the middle here. And this is the shape of it. Now I just need to fill this in with spruce planks. Okay, so for the second to last detail, I'm going to make a smaller tower in the middle here. Also, this was done wrong, so I redid it. Okay, so this is one of the towers, and I just need to make it 3 more times. Just like that, and now I just need to fill this part in. And finally, just fill in the roof. And for the final detail, I'm going to make some of those, which it turns out are actually called embrasures. And that is everything complete. At least on the outside. Yeah, I still have to do an interior. Luckily, at the top they have this guide that shows you exactly where all of the rooms are going to be, so that should be pretty helpful when I'm building it. So that is the entire floor in, and now I'm just going to make the layout. So these are the entrances to the turrets. This is going to be a pantry, I guess. This one and this one are going to be guest quarters. This is going to be the library area. This is where even more guest bedrooms are going to be. And finally, this is the royal bedchamber. Anyway, now I have to decorate everything. First, I'm going to do the pantry. So these are cooking furnaces. We have some cauldrons in here, and this is where food is going to go. This is one of the guest quarters. It has a bed and a chest. In the middle, we have a dining area of some sort. I mean, I guess it's okay. Here is the library room, another bed area, I guess. Okay, now there's actually some stairs in the stairwell. And the last step is to just add carpets everywhere. Just like that. Okay, so for the final build in the castle is the actual throne room itself. And what I'm going to do is build that out here and then just copy paste it into there. So this is how big it's going to be, and it's actually pretty small. I'm going to start by making the entrance. So that is the front of it, and the sides are actually completely flat. Now that all the walls are done, it's time to make the actual throne. So right now I'm actually making where the throne is going to sit. Add a little bit of carpet, some fences, whatever these things are, and finally the throne. And that is the throne room complete. And now the last step is just to connect everything up. And after a little bit of work, everything in the entire castle is done. So the next few builds that I'm going to be making from this book are the barracks, which is where soldiers are housed. It's going to end up being a pretty small build, but I'm going to be making a lot of them. So there is the front door and some windows. So this is actually the first build that has a front yard, and it's pretty much just a bunch of sand. Now we're supposed to put up a fence fence around, and whatever these things are. I guess you can like shoot them or something? I don't know. I guess there's also a stable off to the side of it too. Now it's time for the second floor, which actually sticks out a block. And the second floor is made out of diorite. There's actually a balcony up here and it has a chest on it. So that is the outside of the build complete and the inside too. Okay, so I'm gonna do a time lapse where I'm gonna make some roads connecting all of the builds and also variations of this house. Alright, so this is actually starting to look pretty cool right now. And up next, we're actually going to be building an enchanting room, and I don't really know where to put it, so I'm just going to make it underneath the castle. So this is about how big the room is going to be, and it has a nether brick outline on the inside. Now I'm putting in the enchanting table. Now that that's in, I'm going to put a second floor in. And now you can actually go into it in the castle. So let's see what's next. And up next is actually the dungeon. But before I do that, I just wanted to tell you to subscribe because I want to reach 100,000 subscribers sometime in the future and anything will help. So this is what the first room looks like. And they actually want me to put redstone right here. I'm not sure what that's supposed to represent, but I thought this was a family-friendly game. Anyway, there's another room that is the exact same next to it. So now I'm working on the outer area here and they want me to put more, redstone down. Okay, yeah, and a skull. I think we can assume where that redstone came from. So this is some sort of a reception desk. And the last step is the stairs. All right, and it is now officially in the castle. Now it's time to make what's probably going to be the biggest part of this entire build, which is all of the houses. All right, so I think the first house is going to be built directly across from here, so let's get started. All right, so this is how big the first story of the house is going to be, and now I'm actually going to work on the inside. It has some furnaces and a crafting table right here, got a staircase right here, and some chests. Now I'm going to move up to the second floor, which has a floor made out of dark oak. So there are the outlines of it, and now I just need to fill everything in. So those are the walls entirely in place, and a balcony too. So to start on the inside, I'm going to put a railing around the stairs so you don't fall or something, along with some beds and a chest, and a jukebox. So to finish this build off, I'm going to be making the roof, which is actually a third floor. So it turns out the roof doesn't actually have the inverted stairs, which is a little bit annoying. Now I'm adding a window here to add a little bit of extra depth, just like that. Now that this is on the other side, I just need to fill everything in. And that is the first house complete. I'm gonna have to make so many of these. Okay, so the reason that this area is left blank is because this is where all of the other builds are going to go. And the first one is actually a town square. Okay, so this is where I'm going to be building the town square, and the first building is actually like some kind of a shop. So the first building actually has some upside down stairs like this on the inside, which I thought is actually a pretty interesting detail for walls. And this is where you enter it. Now I'm going to make the roof, which starts with a layer of slabs, some wool, which is definitely a lot darker in the book, another layer of slabs, and the final layer of wool. The inside is relatively simple because it just has spruce planks on the floor, and finally just some chests. So there's a couple more buildings, and the first one is a well. So I'm going to start with a little bit of grass, a couple of fences in the corners, and now the actual well. Now for the third building, which actually is a cake shop. So that is what the base looks like. Put some cakes and furnaces in there, and finally a roof. All right, now for the final building, which is just this. Whatever this is. Yeah, there it is. I'm gonna be honest, this looks kind of weird just sitting here, so... Oh yeah, it is all gone. There's no more snow. It actually feels a whole lot nicer just walking around here without having to step on snow all the time. Okay, so the next build in the book is the Traveler's Tavern, and it actually looks pretty similar to some of these buildings that I've already made, so I'm just gonna build it in a quick time lapse. Okay, so yeah, now that's done, and I'm not really sure how I feel about the design of the roof here. However, the inside is actually pretty good. Okay, so the final non-redstone build of this book is the cathedral. And this thing is gonna be massive. So big, in fact, that I actually had to move the town square all the way down to here. So to start, I'm gonna work on the interior floor of it, which is 18 by 25 blocks, which is about this size. Now I'm gonna make marks on the floor using spruce planks, which is where the walls and seats are gonna go. Okay, and the seats are gonna be made out of dark oak stairs. Just like that. Now I'm gonna start working on the thing in the middle. This thing even has anvils on it, which makes it pretty expensive. And now it's time to make the outer walls. And looking at the details on it, it could take a little while. I'm gonna start by going up 5 blocks and putting stairs in the middle and putting upside down stairs in the middle, then some fences and torches. Now I'm gonna make another layer using chisel stone bricks and regular stone and put some stairs on top of all of those with slabs on the back of all of these. Then I'm gonna bring these down 4 blocks and then also go out with stone bricks. Now I'm gonna make the back of the build, which is a giant stained glass piece of art, which looks like this. So for the entrance, I'm gonna start by going out 5 blocks this way and turn it all into a roof. And then this is where the actual entrance is going to be. And now that the entire entrance is done, it means that it's time to do the roof. And since it's so big, I'm just going to do it in a time lapse. Alright, so now that the cathedral is done, it's time to add all of the small details to the city that will make it feel more alive. For example, we could have a notice board, or some carts. We can make a storage hold, you have a well, and that's pretty much it. Anyway, now it's time to make traps. Alright, and the first one is actually a pitfall trap. Oh, I missed it. And the first one is a pitfall trap. Pretty cool. Alright, and the second trap is an arrow trap. So let's see how this thing goes. That's a lot of air. I'm not even getting hit. And there we go. I'm not even joking when I say this, but this thing took 743 arrows to kill me without armor. Okay, it's all done, and there's just no way that this thing isn't gonna explode when I fire it. So I have the redstone block here, and it is firing out all of the arrows onto the slime. Okay, that should be enough, and once I push this button, it'll activate this TNT, and it should launch the arrows up into the air. And it should launch the TNT up into the air, but I don't really trust that. Oh, that thing was actually surprisingly good. Now, you may or may not remember, but before this, I built some houses, and that's what I'm going to be doing again, except this time I'm going to be making a house out of every single type of wood. Chances are that if you spawn into a new Minecraft world, this is going to be the first tree that you see, unless of course you don't spawn in a forest or plains biome. Before I start making the first house, I just want to say that there is only one rule that I have to follow, and that is that I can't use multiple types of wood in the same house. Should be pretty simple to follow, so let's start. So instead of just doing a simple square, I'm going to kind of go out in random directions to make it look maybe a little bit more natural. This is what the shape of the house is going to look like, and I might actually put a second floor right here, along with filling in this whole section to make a balcony. The entrance of the house is just going to be fairly straightforward, so I just moved out the entire outer layer of wood so that the build can have more depth to it. And for a little bit more contrast, I'm just adding normal sandstone to the bottom of these blocks. And even though it's a really simple thing to do, it actually improves the look of it quite a bit. So for the windows, I'm going to use light gray stained glass paints just because it looks kind of nice with the sandstone. And yeah, I also can't forget about the balcony here. And for even more depth, we can actually put trap doors around the sides of the build, which just kind of makes it look nicer and adds a little bit of extra detail. Now I'm just going to go up for the second floor. Right now I'm trying to think of what I can do for this back wall right here because all the other ones have windows, but this one is just flat. Okay, I think I figured out. If I go out with slabs like this and then just fence it off, then I'll have a little stable. Yeah, that'd look good, I say. I'm going to do the same thing underneath the balcony, except it's just going to be an enclosed yard. All right, so now for the upper area here, I'll start by filling in the floor. Also gonna need to fill in the walls up here too, with that layer of sandstone at the bottom. Okay, so wait, what if I turn this section here into a second balcony overlooking this area right here? All right, yeah, it's a little bit small, but I think it looks fine. Okay, so I think this is the design that I'm gonna use for the walls, and it's kind of just like a circle. All right, so that actually looks pretty good, and it's a whole lot of detail. Now I'm gonna put the fence on the balcony because you don't want people to fall off or something, along with some lanterns on it too. Okay, so now it's time to make the roof, and I'm not really sure how to go about this quite yet. Okay, so I think I came up with an idea here, and I'm gonna start with an outline of oak stairs, and if I get deep slate brick stairs and just cobbled deep slate stairs, then I think it'll look good. Yeah, so that is the entire exterior of the house done, and it actually looks pretty good. As for the inside, it kind of just looks like the back rooms. So this is going to be the living room right here. I'm going to add some carpets in so that it looks better. Right here can be the dining room. And of course you have to get upstairs, so I'm going to put a staircase in right here. And up here is where the bedrooms are going to be. And this is one of the bedrooms here. I'm actually going to put a cactus in the corner just because why not? And finally put carpets everywhere. All right, so after a couple of finishing touches, that is the first house complete. And it honestly doesn't even look that bad. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to what is probably a lot of people's favorite type of wood, which is spruce. Oh, and before I move on to the spruce house, I thought I'd mention that at the end of this video, I'm going to be tier listing all of the different types of wood. I want to have this house made in 3 different layers. The first one being just a regular spruce layer. The second one can be some contrasting colors like white or something. And then the third layer can just be the roof. So the entrance is going to go right about here. Then I'll have 2 of the sides go out like this. And then I think I'll have it go back even more. And then I will have a corner right here and have it go back even more. So that is the whole outline of the house complete. And I guess it's not really much of a house, it's more of a mansion at this point. Now I'm just going to go up with the stripped spruce. For some exterior lighting, I'm going to put a stone brick wall right here with a lantern on top. So for the entrance, I'm going to have it go in a layer, have some spruce fences with torches on top right next to the doors. Now I have to do the designs for these walls right here. And then if I just go up and have more trapdoors like this, okay, I changed it up a little bit and I think it looks fine like that. Now I just need to make a whole bunch of these. So the corners did need something a little bit different and I think that works fine. That is the entire first layer completed, so now I just have to go up. I think I'm going to go out a block like this on all of the corners. Now it's time to start with the walls of the second layer. Okay, so this is about how tall it's going to be, and I know it's a little bit controversial, but I think I could get away with using diorite for this top part. Never mind, calcite just looks better. I'm going to put flowering azalea leaves on every other block so that it doesn't look too repetitive. Ooh, and then on top of there I can put normal azaleas, and that actually looks pretty cool. And then if I put spruce trapdoors on the side here like that, that actually looks really good. Okay, let me just come up with something for this gap here really quick. All right, yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay, before I do the roof, I kind of want to extend this part and make it go upwards really tall, and then fill in the walls so it's kind of like a tower that stands out in the middle. I don't want to just have this be a flat wall. Maybe I'll put like some kind of a design, maybe a balcony or something on it. Yeah, something right here looks pretty good, and I can just put trapdoors on top of the fences. And of course, actually add the doors. Okay, once again, I am going to make the roof out of deep slate bricks just because they look pretty good. All right, so that actually looks pretty good for the roof. Now I just have to work on all of this. Yeah, I'm just gonna do that on a time lapse. Alright, that roof took a while, but the build looks a whole lot better now. Before I work on the interior, I'm going to add some pretty simple decorations to the roof. Like first a bunch of deep slate brick walls, with some spruce fences in the middle, and some iron bars on top. Now I'm going to put some pretty simple decorations on the roof, like a flower stand, a simple little garden, of course some tables, and a cactus. Now it's time to move on to the interior. I'm starting with the floor, which I'm just setting everything to spruce planks, and now I'm actually making the layouts for each of the rooms. Alright, so this is going to be the layout of the rooms. I'm thinking this one could be a kitchen, this one could be a dining room, this could be a living room, and I'm not sure what this one is yet. So I'm going to start with the kitchen over here. I can use stairs like this for a range hood. I can put some slabs like this and a cauldron with water in it with a tripwire hook on top as a sink. Barrels can be used as cabinets on the top here. And on this side, I'm building an absolutely massive furnace or oven to cook pizzas or something. I don't really know, but it should look pretty cool once it's done. Wow, yeah, this thing's pretty big. So yeah, that is the whole kitchen. The living room is going to be pretty simple because it's just going to be a couch, a TV, and some speakers. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So for the dining room is going to be pretty simple because it is just a table, some chairs, and some barrels. I think I decided for this room, it's just going to be a large stairway. And underneath the stairs, I'm just going to put a laundry room. The final room is just going to be the lobby where I'm going to put some places to sit with some plants in the corner. And yeah, that is the entire first floor completed. So now we need to move on to the second one. These are where the first 2 bedrooms are going to be, and they're pretty simple. Also, I had a hole right here so that you can have access to the balcony right here. All right, so this is going to be the bedroom design, and I just need to build this about 20 more times. All right, so all of the bedrooms are in place, which means that the spruce house is complete. And honestly, from the outside and the inside, it looks pretty good. Since it's kind of hard to make birch look good in a house, I kind of wanted to do like a sandcastle kind of build. So I'm probably going to flatten this area out right here so that I actually have a flat place to build the castle. This looks good. I'm gonna start by making the outlines of it with sandstone. All right, so to start, I'm going to cut out a bit from the center here. So that is the entrance design here, and now I'm gonna build up all of the walls. Gonna add some extra details to the outer walls here. All right, now I'm gonna build up the towers on the side. For the ridges here, I'm just gonna do this, and I'm gonna do the same thing for the towers. And on top of each tower, I'm going to put a simple flag. So for the inside, I'm gonna start by making the outline of the castle. This is how the inside castle walls will look. Now I'm going to make a quick roof. I'm actually gonna add another floor to it because it didn't look tall enough. For the interior, I'm just gonna do a simple throne, and this is the interior of the bedroom. All right, so that is probably the closest thing that I can get to a good-looking birch house. Oops. That's probably the closest thing that I can get to a good-looking birch house in Minecraft. So the next wood is jungle, and I'm thinking about making it about the same size as this one right here. I wanna have it be a kind of square design. The door will go right here. The windows are just gonna be pretty simple like this. And just now I'm realizing that I could just use jungle trapdoors for windows because they actually look pretty good. The side wall will be a similar design. All right, now I'm gonna add another floor to the house, and it's gonna be pretty similar to the first one, just a slightly different shape. I thought the exterior of this one actually turned out to be pretty good, so now it's time to move on to the inside. So what I wanted to do for the inside is kind of make it natural, like have a waterfall and a bunch of plants everywhere. It's gonna look like this and have a little area for the water to flow. And yeah, that actually looks pretty good. So the other things that I'm gonna add into this area are just some shelves for plants. Can I put ladders on trapdoors like this? Oh wait, that's actually so cool. And that is the design of the first floor, and I actually really like it. And yeah, we can have a computer on this side, which means that this house is done. It's pretty simple, and it's definitely my favorite one so far. All right, now for acacia, which I'm gonna build right here. This one's gonna be a pretty simple one, starting with a stone brick base, and a second one over here where I'm gonna make a small tower. And now I'm gonna go up like 5 blocks to make a simple gradient. Just made a stone brick staircase going up. Also, I promise I'll use acacia soon. Okay, now it's time to make the actual house part. So that is where the entrance will go, and I'm gonna have a window right here. I'm pretty sure I can use campfires since you can craft them with acacia wood. And if I just put all of these out, then that actually looks pretty good. Looking at the roof, I noticed that copper actually looks really cool with acacia, so I think I'm gonna be using that. Okay, I just came up with an idea for the window up here, so if I put acacia stairs like this and then go to the other side and put the acacia trap doors in, then yeah, that's actually a pretty cool window. I think this roof does actually stick out a little bit too much, so I'm gonna shorten it real quick. All right, yeah, that is better, and now I just need to do the sides here. I'm gonna leave this side open for a slight addition to the side of the house. I decided to change this window right here so that it looks more like the one up there, and the back is gonna have 2 of these windows as well. The back here is pretty simple. I guess it's just kind of a small balcony, and for the back here, I'm just gonna do a simple roofed area. Yeah, underneath the roof is just going to be a small fenced off area, and I think I'll put like a table or something in the middle. And for this inside area, it's just gonna have a place to sit, and the second floor is just gonna be this. So yeah, I think that one was probably one of the more difficult ones to make because of the color of acacia wood, but I think it turned out pretty good. For the dark oak house, I actually wanted to try something that I've never tried before, which is making an A-frame. This one's gonna be a little bit larger than the other ones, but that's just so that I can fit all the details in it. So I want to make this a more natural build and incorporate a lot of green blocks in it. For some details on the outside, I want to use some azalea leaves, and just some normal grass. Before putting in the giant glass windows, I'm going to start by making the different levels of it. So yeah, this is going to be the bottom layer here, and this is just going to be a loft. I just came up with the idea of putting dark oak trap doors on the inside so that it looks a little bit cleaner. Now that the inside looks a whole lot cleaner, I think I'm going to add some decorations, some furniture, and probably some other things. Starting with the staircase going up to the loft. Alright, I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to decorate it up here, starting with a bed and a bookshelf, a carpet going down the middle, and a table. I built out this little area here, which will be a patio along with an entrance here. My idea for the first floor is to have it be kind of library and just have a whole bunch of bookshelves everywhere. Just to make it look a little bit better, I can replace some of the bookshelves with chiseled bookshelves. And I can also add a ladder right here so that you can get up to the second layer of books. And the last thing that I think I'm going to add for this room is a place to sit right here. So yeah, I think this house actually looks pretty good. Also, if you're enjoying this video so far, then subscribe because I have a pretty insane video coming out in December and you're definitely not going to want to miss that one. So yeah, mangrove is definitely one of the weirdest types of trees in Minecraft. And I think that this tree is actually going to be a pretty good one to base it off of. So yeah, this is going to be about how how big it is. So if I just copy and paste this part a couple times over, then that is what the shape of the base is going to be. Also, it is a little bit weird, but I think that's fine. Of course, I am going to add more designs to this thing so it isn't completely boring. All right, so I just added some details to this thing, and I think it actually looks pretty good. Okay, so I applied the design to all three of them, and now it's time to build up. I'm probably going to have a big circle in the middle, but I still don't know what to put at the top yet. So up here is going to be the first kind of floor where I'm going to put a little fence going around it. You know, for this part of the build, I actually wanted to try something different and make a donut shape. It's going to be weird, but I mean, this is already pretty weird. I think I would start this with a cylinder like this, and then do a second one that's a little bit larger. Okay, and then this third layer will go up and be the walls. I think I'm doing this right. Okay, yeah, the shape is definitely almost there. And also I think I'm gonna cut out a layer right here so that I can have windows. So the bottom of this thing is a little bit bland right now, so I'm wondering if I put fences like this just going down kind of randomly. And I think I want to do the same thing with the top too, because it's also pretty flat. Yeah, this house is definitely looking pretty weird. But I think that is the entire outside of it complete, so I guess we can move on to the inside now. And I guess I'll start with the 4 legs. This one is just the entrance right here, so it shouldn't be too much. I'm gonna use that same ladder thing as I did before with them on the trap doors to get up here. These other legs could be turned into bedrooms, which I thought could be interesting. So yeah, that is 1, 2, and 3. And up here is where all of the other rooms will be. Starting with the kitchen right here, the living room right here, which is pretty simple, and I think the rest of this area can be used as a gardening area. Definitely not because I ran out of ideas for rooms here. And yeah, that is the mangrove house complete. I'd say that this is definitely the hardest one to make because of the color and just kind of weird shape that I chose. Anyway, next is cherry. That's actually probably worse than this. I think I actually have an idea for this one. But first I'm going to actually make a platform for it to go on. And essentially what I'm making is a Japanese style pagoda. I want to start this one by making a base that's kind of like a mini pyramid. What I'm thinking is to have it mostly made out of quartz and cherry wood, but have a couple of blackstone, I guess, windows right here. This part seems like it's turning out okay so far, so now I'm just going to remove it to all of the other sides. I also added these designs to the walls because they were a little bit flat before. Yeah, and building it up, I think it actually looks pretty interesting. Now it's time for the roof. Also, I kind of suck at building roofs for buildings like these, so I honestly think that the outside of this build actually turned out pretty good. Also, I'm not going to do an interior because I have absolutely no idea what to do for this kind of house. Crimson planks are kind of similar to mangrove, so I'm not going to be doing something too similar to that. I'm definitely going to be using a lot of the crimson trapdoors in this build to give it a lot more depth. I put some blackstone on this part because it contrasts pretty well with this weird purple color that we have here. This one's going to have a flat roof because I think it'll just kind of look better like that. So yeah, that is the roof. And also I think that this build is actually turning out to be pretty cool so far. Okay, I don't know if this is going to look good or not, but if I put blackstone walls down and then put the trap doors on them, yeah, I think this did turn out fine with the trap doors like that. Now the last part of the outside is the back, and it's probably going to be pretty similar to the front, maybe without the doors or something. For the inside of this one, I kind of wanted to do it like a darker theme. Using gilded blackstone as lights like this is actually kind of cool looking. And also I thought it'd be kind of funny to put a lava fall right here because of the jungle house over there having a waterfall in it. In the bedroom over here, I have lava underneath some red glass, which actually looks kind of cool. And I actually really like the way that these windows turned out right here, with them being in the corner. I really quite like the way that the outside of this one turned out, along with the inside as well. And it actually honestly kind of feels like a restaurant in here, except for the fact that it has a bedroom. And now for the final type of wood, the warped stem. I can actually make use of the soul lantern here because it connects to the chainsaw on the front. The warped trapdoors actually also look pretty cool, so I'm also going to be using a lot of these. I actually thought it could be cool if I had fences on the front here that are going to be used to support the roof. And the roof is going to be made out of dark prismarine and the warped stairs. There is the front window, and instead of having this roof be flat, I'm actually gonna have to go up a little bit. Right now I'm finishing up the details on the exterior, and I have to say it actually looks pretty cool so far. That is the whole outside of the build finished, and honestly it actually looks really good. As you can see, there isn't really that much to work with on the inside because it's like a 2-block space. So yeah, this is what I managed to come up with. There's a table right here, a sink or something, I actually got one of the paintings right here, and up here is the bed, which means that I finally built a house out of every single type of wood in the game. And do you remember how at the start of this video I said that I was going to be tier listing all of the woods? Well, let's do that. I'm going to be judging this on how easy it was to come up with an idea for the house and how good the house actually ended up looking. Starting with acacia, I'm going to put it in B tier because the house was a little bit hard to come up with an idea for, but it ended up looking pretty good. Next is birch. This one is pretty hard to come up with an idea for, and also it was just kind of not very good looking because it barely had any birch in it at all. Cherrywood is actually going to go in A tier because I thought this one actually turned out pretty cool looking and it contrasted with the colors pretty good. Actually, I'm going to move it up to S. And crimson is probably also going to go in B tier because it ended up looking pretty good, but I feel like it could have had a lot of improvements for the interior of it. Dark oak is also S tier because I honestly really liked the way that house turned out. And jungle I'm going to put in A tier because I really like the outside of that house, but it kind of looked like an older house, if you know what I mean. But the interior of it actually ended up looking pretty cool. Mangrove is also going to go in D tier because that one was just really hard to make and it ended up looking weird, like some kind of a donut. Oak is probably also going to go in A tier because I thought it ended up looking pretty good and it is definitely one of the easiest woods to build with in Minecraft. Spruce is going to go in S tier because that house was really easy to make and also it ended up looking pretty good. And for the warped stem, I'm going to put that in A tier because that house ended up looking pretty good and it was pretty simple to make. And also, you might be noticing that I didn't make a house out of bamboo because technically it is a type of grass. So yeah, after all this, I finally made a house out of every single type of wood in the game. Hope you enjoy the shot of all of the houses. You can download them in my Patreon, link in the description, and I'll see you guys next time. Was I a little bit biased towards spruce in this video? No. Yes. Anyways, on a similar topic, the next video that I worked on is building a castle out of every single type of stone, which is kind of similar to what I just did. There are 6 main types of stone in Minecraft: normal stone, sandstone, red sandstone, deep slate, black stone, and end stone. And in this video, I'm going to be making 6 different castles, each out of their own type of stone, starting with the most basic one, normal stone bricks. Like any build, I gotta start by finding a good place to put it. I flattened this little area out right here, and I actually have a pretty interesting idea on what to make for this first castle. So what I'm thinking is to have a whole bunch of different squares and rectangles and just kind of have them all moved together to make the final castle. But I'm going to start by making all of the outlines for it. It's not really going to be symmetrical in any way, but I think it should still end up looking pretty cool. So after a lot of outlines, I think I actually have something that could turn out to be pretty cool. So I'm thinking for the details, I kind of want to just have it be a basic castle, like with the ridges along the edge here. But first, I think I should probably actually fill in the walls. Okay, so I just filled everything in, and right now it kind of looks like some kind of a weird piece of modern art. But now it's time to add some details to it, and I'm going to start by making probably what is the easiest part, and that's the roofs. So this is what I ended up doing. I have some andesite stairs in the middle here that just kind of go around in a circle, and the walls are a little bit indented, and I also used coral right here, which I thought was kind of interesting. So yeah, that's how that part of the castle looks. Okay, so now I'm going to work on this larger back building, which I'm probably going to have a little bit of a different design for. I'm going to be doing this same design for the spikes right here, but I actually came up with something that could be kind of interesting for this wall right here. So if I put a line of barrier blocks like this and then put light gray carpets above it, and then putting them all the way around the build with some of these in between. Okay, so to finish off this area up here, I'm going to do a pretty similar design to what I did right here, except just on here. Alright, so I put the andesite stairs on here, and it actually ended up looking pretty cool. So now I think I'm going to work on the entrance down here, and I don't think it should be too big. Just something like this works fine, and I'll add a little bit of a path out here too. Alright, so the next thing that I gotta do is repeat this design just kind of all over the whole build, and then after that I'll add smaller details like textures on the walls. So yeah, that is the entire exterior of the build complete, and honestly, it actually looks pretty cool, especially from above. Okay, so for the interior of this one, I think I want to start by making a large stone hall. And then I want to fill this entire interior right here with these stone pillars. And yeah, I think these stone pillars actually turned out pretty cool, especially with the stone buttons placed in places where you usually can't place them. Alright, next I think that the floor needs a little bit more detail, so I'm probably just going to fill it in with some more stone related blocks. Okay, so this area right here, I think I want it to be a stairwell, mainly because it lines up perfectly with the roof right here, and the roof just kind of leads to everything else. I couldn't really figure out what to do for the decoration in this area, so I just kind of did this. I guess it looks fine. Okay, so I think I want this part to be a library, so I'll put a ladder going down right here, and I'll fill this whole inside part with books, along with some in the corners here. Okay, so that room is pretty simple, and now I think the final room that I'm going to make is a dining room. So for the table, I'm using some andesite stairs with some carpets on top. Okay, so I made some designs for chairs, and I think they actually ended up looking pretty cool. Alright, and now that this room is done, I would say that this build is complete, and I'm actually really proud of how this one turned out. Next, I'm going to move on to sandstone. I already have some outlines built for this one, and if you can't already tell, it's going to be a pyramid. It's going to be made out of these little cubes right here, and before I paste them everywhere, I'm actually going to put some details into them. And yeah, I think this design actually looks pretty cool. So I want to use a lot of water in this build, and I think to hold it all in, I'm just going to put a wall around this area. Okay, I got all the waters in, and looking at this build so far, I feel like it could definitely have some pretty good potential. I want to do a pretty similar design for this next step, just maybe a little bit different. Like, I think I want this part to be a little bit longer. And yeah, a design like that actually looks pretty cool. So right now I'm at the very top of the build, and I'm making a fountain where all the water is going to be coming from. Okay, this part alone took so much longer than I expected. But now I'm left with a whole bunch of areas to fill in, so now let me just do that real quick. Yeah, the outside of this building actually ended up looking really, really cool. But there is still one more part we have to do. Alright, now that the inside is cleaned up and I added a couple of entrances, it's time to add actual decorations. I think I'll start with a line of stairs going around the outer edges. Alright, now that I have all of those, I'm just gonna add some more details to the walls. I want to have the roof be a little bit more than just this flat thing, so I'm probably gonna put some kind of a design up there. Alright, that looks fine, and now for the floor. Once again, I'm putting a lot of water in this build, so it feels kind of like an oasis in here. And if I really want to make it feel like an oasis in here, I should probably add some greenery. And yeah, now that I add some greenery, I think that this build is actually finished. This actually turned out a whole lot better than I was expecting. Okay, so the next type of stone that I'm going to be making out of is red sandstone, and I have an idea for this one, and that's to make it based off of the real life temple called Petra. Well, first I'm going to have to do a little bit of terraforming so that it doesn't look like this. So what it looks like is that it's split up into two different parts, and one of them is right about here. This part kind of goes out a little bit because it is a roof. It's basically just a pyramid shape. It looks like this, and it also goes out a little bit. All right, for that roof, I think that actually looks pretty good, and I know this part goes down a little bit, so I guess I'll make that. Okay, so the next thing I'm gonna work on in this build is the pillars in the front, and so far this top part is actually looking pretty cool. It looks like the pillars kind of go onto a platform right here, so let me just make that real quick. All right, and now that the pillars are in, I think this build is actually starting to look pretty good. I don't really know what's inside of it, so for the entrance, I'm just gonna cover it up with black concrete. Now that I have the entrance down there, I'm gonna start moving up to here where I think there's just a big ledge. All right, now I think I need to actually mine out a little bit of this wall so I can make room for the even bigger pillars that go in the back here. Now, I think one of the last steps to completing this castle is to just put on the top roof looking things. These two are just kind of triangle shaped, and this middle one is more of a circle. I think the build is fully done, but right now it kind of sticks out, but not in a good way. So I'm gonna see if I can make the train look a little bit smoother and make the build actually fit in better. Alright, now I think that this build is done. Alright, so the next one is deep slate, and I wanted to build this one in a mountain biome, but of course the nearest one that I wanted is over 2,000 blocks away. But I'm still gonna build it here anyways, because I think it'll look cool. So if I do want to incorporate this cave into it, I think I want to have a bridge going out like this that goes down, and yeah, this part is pretty much just going to be a little bit of a lookout tower or something. Also, basalt actually I noticed looks really good with deep slate bricks. To make this go a little bit more naturally, I'm going to add a bit of a curve right here. Okay, and the last thing that I'm going to add to this part is some cracks in this thing just so that it looks a little bit less stable or something. Alright, and now it's time to move on to the actual castle itself. So I'm thinking that I want this castle to be a little bit more symmetrical, unlike this one that I built right here. And I guess to start that, I'm going to have two 2 towers right here on each side. Okay, so they're gonna be about this big, and I think it'd actually be really cool to have a bridge connecting them in the middle. Okay, so I said I wanted to make a bridge here, but I think I want to make these actually a little bit taller and go in 1 block before I make the bridge. Okay, so I just made a pretty cool design for this wall right here, so now I just need to expand it downwards to here and put it onto this one. And like I said before, I'm going to be making a bridge in between these 2 towers, so... Alright, so that is the bottom of the bridge. Now I'm going to add some railing to the side, and I think on top of each of these pillars, I am going to make a torch. And on top of these, I'm going to put soul campfires. Alright, and now that it's on all 4 sides, I think it actually starts to look pretty cool. Alright, now I'm going to work on the inside right here. Alright, this is where the entrance will be, and I'm going to have windows on both sides of it. Okay, so this is how the final entrance design will look. Now I just need to do these sides right here and the interior. For the walls, I'm going to start with a layer of deep slate bricks, and now I'm cutting out some holes for some windows. Alright, and now I need to repeat this on all 4 of the sides. And with the roof added, this build is actually almost done. I just need to make an interior, and I actually have an idea for something to put right here. I think for the interior of this part, I'm just gonna do a throne room with some chairs. I think this throne actually looks pretty good, so now I'm just gonna make the chairs, and those shouldn't be too hard. Now that I have the interior done, I think the last thing that I want to do is to make a massive tower going up in the middle here. I'm thinking up here maybe I could have a giant torch that is like much larger than those ones down there. So this is how big the base of the tower is gonna be, and I think it still does need some more details added to it. So I'm gonna stop building this up right here and start to actually work on the torch. Now that I have the base of the torch done, I just need to add the soul campfires and it'll be done. Which means that that is the Deep Slate Castle complete, and honestly, it's probably my favorite one so far. Up next is Blackstone, and I think for this castle I want to recreate Darth Vader's castle from Star Wars. For this build, it looks like I'm going to have to do a lot of terraforming, and it's mainly all going to be made out of Blackstone. This build seems to be kind of on a pretty large flat plateau, so that's what I'm going to start by making. Okay, so the reason why I left this part empty and why this is all sand is because this part actually has a bit of a lava fall right here, and since sand falls, it can be easily made into mountains like this if you use world edit. So the lava I'm going to put right about there, and above this is a little bit of a pyramid. I am going to eventually turn this into a larger lake of lava, but not quite yet. This one is a little bit more of a steep pyramid, so it goes up 3 blocks at a time, and I decided to just do it 4 blocks in. Now I'm adding these ridges to the side of the build. Alright, now I'm going to start working on the actual top of the castle itself, and it seems like it'll go up pretty high. This is 100 blocks right here, and I'm not sure if that's too tall or not. Alright, so now I have all the outlines of this build complete, and I'm going to start with this section right here, which seems to be glowing and made out of orange stained glass. Okay, so I got the front of the build done, and from what it looks like, the rest of it is just solid black. Okay, finally, there's one more castle to build and then this video will be done. Also, if you're enjoying so far, then subscribe because this video took me a really long time to make and my next video is going to be pretty insane. Okay, so for this final castle, I'm going to have it be pretty simple and just be about this big. So like all the other ones, I'm going to start with making some outlines, and I think stone bricks actually kind of go with this one pretty well. So real quickly, I'm going to make a design for the inner walls right here. And so now I'm just making the middle tower designs. I don't know if you can tell or not, but this castle is a little bit rushed. And honestly, since then, I haven't really made a building video. So what have I been working on? Like, for example, the dome from the Truman Show, which is what I used for my video called I Recreated the Truman Show in Minecraft, where I recreated the Truman Show in Minecraft. Anyways, this build, I experimented with a lot of new techniques, mainly involving Axiom, where I used all of the block entities to create these not possible in vanilla computer monitors. I don't even know what they're called. But pretty much, I could just add a whole lot more detail than what I needed to have. A detail that I'm a little bit sad didn't end up in the video was the fact that I added the ports to the back of the computer, which is just kind of ridiculous. I don't know why I did that, but I just thought it would be kind of funny. Anyways, this is probably the largest thing that I've worked on as of recently, and the other things are all in my video about how I built this, which is a staged video all for storytelling. And yeah, if you want to download any of the builds that you saw in this video, including the one that I'm standing in right now, you can go to my Patreon. It is linked in the description and probably the pinned comment too. And if somehow you watched until the end of this video and you're new here, then consider subscribing. I think since those are all re-uploads of old videos, I definitely said to subscribe probably 10 or 15 times at this point. But if you haven't somehow, please consider doing it. Anyways, that's really about it. I have a new video coming out fairly soon that isn't a compilation. This is just a filler video. And yeah, I guess I'll see you guys then.